If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 325, The Demon King. The boss is dead too. At the hideout, the black-robed group exchanged glances, seeing only confusion in each other's eyes. Things were nothing like they'd imagined. It had started as a simple mission, kidnap the RA yellow student from Duel Academy. But Yemo went and got himself instantly defeated, dying pathetically like some jobber. Then they tried to grab a red dorm rookie as a hostage, so the boss personally stepped in and promptly got killed, dying at the hands of the hostage. What on earth is up with this year's Duel Academy? Just these two students would be big shots in their own underground circles. Is this supposed to be average or bottom tier for Duel Academy? Maybe they should all just go home and get some sleep. We can't keep going like this, someone said seriously. This is the organization's top mission. If we keep making no progress, we can't just sit here. We have to do something, or we'll be blamed. He didn't finish, and silence fell for several seconds. I'm praying those two don't find us. Again they exchanged glances, seeing only deep resignation in each other's faces. They couldn't win. It wasn't their fault they were weak, the opponents were just absurd. Supposedly ordinary students, but even the boss was dead. Well, since headquarters specifically wants these people, it's not surprising they're special. The black-robed man codenamed Black Flame pondered for a moment. By the way, has there been any word from headquarters? It really seemed like they needed backup from the pros upstairs. They said someone's already on their way, but it's not clear if they've arrived. A nearby black-robed man hesitated. The experts may be already in Duel City. But as lower-level operatives, they knew almost nothing about their superiors and had no right to ask. They didn't even know what their superiors looked like, even passing them on the street, they wouldn't recognize them. For all they knew, a top boss could already be right beside them. But they haven't contacted us, someone said. Maybe they're operating independently and don't need our help, Black Flame mused. Maybe headquarters wants us to act as a distraction, making it easier for the real pros to move in the shadows. He cut himself off. Because he and many others had thought of the same crucial term for their role. Cannon fodder. Maybe, from the start, this was a mission with an unwinnable target. The goal was an unbeatable opponent. A futile struggle, using every trick and effort, only to inevitably die at the hands of Kira and Jaden. That was their unavoidable fate. Ugh, no choice, there's one last move, Black Flame said heavily. Everyone turned, listening intently. You have a plan? Yes, but it's risky. Black Flame glanced around, lowering his voice. The guy from the city's underworld, if it's him. Faces changed. You mean? The speaker reflexively lowered his voice, as if afraid of being overheard. The Demon King of the Dark Star Club. That's right. Black Flame nodded. Dark Star Club is the fastest growing dark club around here lately, and its founder, the Demon King, is a big reason. He really is strong. A teammate nodded but soon frowned. But he's only a surface-level ally. Even the boss, at his peak, wasn't confident against him, which is why we never fully absorbed Dark Star into the organization. He's not really on our side. Black Flame waved a hand. It's just a matter of interests. No permanent friends or enemies. Things are dire. The boss is dead, HQ offers no support, so seeking outside help is our only choice. So that's all we can do. Dark Star Club. Colorful lights flashed like rainbows and meteors, dancing on the walls and flowing across the floor, creating a dreamy and mysterious atmosphere. Pale-skinned dancers swayed to the music, their skin almost glowing under the soft lights, their graceful curves like carefully sculpted statues. Skirts fluttered with each movement, elegant lines appearing and disappearing in the light, a living painting in motion. Of course, for the gentlemen present, few cared about the dancing itself, most only had eyes for the long legs and booba. You want me to handle your enemies? The man known as Demon King was half sunken into the sofa, arms around two women, frowning in thought. Your organization is so powerful, when did you need me to bail you out? The two black-robed men glanced at each other, embarrassed. You might not know. We do have a lot of experts, but our network is worldwide. No one's available right now. The Demon King sneered, so HQ thinks you're useless and you're just cannon fodder, right? The two. Ouch, hit right on the mark. Ahem, but if you'd help us out, we'll definitely remember this favor, one said. And you'd be well compensated. Spare me. I'm half retired, I don't need anything. The Demon King snorted. Both men looked helpless. They'd heard the stories. The Demon King had once made a fortune in the underworld with his card skills, then tried to go legit, only to lose everything and end up deep in debt. Left with no choice, he returned to the underground scene, unsealing his deck and burying his creditors in darkness. Business wasn't for him, cards were. Then he opened the Dark Star Club. Though he returned as a dark duelist, he rarely dueled himself a semi-retired state. But you said the target is a young genius. The Demon King narrowed his eyes. One black robe nodded eagerly. That's right. He's a Duel Academy freshman, but ridiculously strong. And good-looking, you say? A pretty boy, smooth skin, definitely your type. Interesting. The Demon King brightened, an evil grin spreading across his face. I have to meet this one. Chapter 326, Dark Star Club. Hey, Kira, this doesn't seem like a place we should be. Inside Dark Star Club, Jaden followed Kira through the dazzling bar. Red lights burned, green ones shimmered, colors mingling like fireworks. Girls in sparkling dresses danced as deep, mellow music played. The air was thick with the scent of alcohol and tobacco. As they passed through the hall, some noticed them. A few scantily clad ladies' eyes lit up and tried to cozy up. Jaden was startled, quickly dodging and hurrying after Kira. Kira chuckled, never been to a place like this. I'm not even old enough to drink, Jaden muttered. He didn't get the appeal of such places mainly, he hadn't seen anyone playing cards. What fun could there be without dueling? The dueling's not here, it's in the arena downstairs, Kira said with a smile. Oh. Jaden's eyes lit up. Let's go check it out. That's not why we're here, Kira replied. But if you want to, you can go see, and I'll call you when I'm done. Nah, I'll stay. Jaden waved it off, then asked, so, why are we here? Is this their base? He glanced around, seeing only drinkers and scantily dressed girls, nothing like what he'd imagined. No, but Kaiba Corp's intel says this club also hides shadow duels, Kira explained. Plus, they're allied with the local Doma group. We might find more leads here. I see. As they spoke, they reached the back. A scar-faced man in a suit appeared, glanced at their uniforms, and nodded. The Demon King is waiting for you. Demon King? Honestly, when Kira first heard the code name, it sounded a bit silly, like some monster lord from folklore. They entered a dimly lit room, starkly different from the lively outside. A young man lay trembling on the floor, face pale, looking drained and mumbling weakly. Jaden rushed over, helping him up. Are you all right? Kira frowned and looked toward the desk. The man known as Demon King straightened up, watching the two with a cold smile. Ha ha ha, not bad. He nodded. Those losers weren't lying, looks aren't bad at all. His gaze shifted to Jaden, who also received an approving look. This one's okay too, just looks a bit dumb. Jaden helped the weak youth, then stood and demanded, what did you do to him? Want to know? The Demon King licked his lips, eager. I'll let you experience it for yourself. Don't worry, it's very enjoyable. Jaden was confused. Enjoyable, is it a duel? The Demon King was stumped, then burst out laughing. Haha, even more exciting than dueling. Jaden raised an eyebrow, clearly thinking, I doubt it. How could anything be more fun than dueling? But you actually came looking for me, that I didn't expect. The Demon King stood up, strapping on his dual disc. You must be pretty good, or those Doma losers wouldn't have run to me. So they did contact you, Kira limbered up. Good. We're looking for them too, could you perhaps point us to their location, Demon King? Sure, but information doesn't come free. The Demon King spread out his dual disc, humming. Kira nodded. I figured a duel, right? Shadow duel, underground rules. But I won't take your lives, that'd be a waste. The Demon King grinned. But if you lose, you'll be at my mercy. He 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 he. His massive frame shook with laughter, making him seem even more sleazy. All right. In exchange, I want the same condition, Kira replied. Ha ha ha, if you win, I'll do whatever you say, any condition, I'll obey. If you can beat my deck. Deal. Kira readied his dual disc. Duel. X2. Kira, LP 4000. Demon King, LP 4000. Jaden, who hadn't gotten a word in, opened his mouth, wanting to speak but hesitating. Why did no one ever ask for his opinion? He wanted to duel too. I'll go first. Drawl. The Demon King smiled ominously. Not a great opening. I activate the spell card Graceful Charity, drawing 3 cards from my deck and discarding 2. He picked 2 cards and sent them to the graveyard. Then, I normal summon Gozuki. Gozuki, ATK 1700. Gozuki, hey, Kira murmured. He knew this card well, it was one of their research products. But in this world, his opponent's Minotaur was the original anime version, a yokai monster. The zombie-type Gozuki was Kira's own lab creation, no one else in this world had one. Gozuki's effect, once per turn, send a yokai from deck to the graveyard. The Demon King searched his deck, briefly showed a card, and sent it to the graveyard. I'll send this card. Nine-tailed fox. The phantom of a nine-tailed fox briefly appeared on his field, letting out a high, piercing cry. Nine-tailed fox, hey. Kira wondered if it would use a tailed beast ball. Of course, he knew this nine-tailed fox was from the anime in the original, Misawa used it. It was one of the original manga-exclusive yokai deck aces. The man before him was partly called Demon King because he used the same yokai deck as Misawa from the manga. Most of the manga original yokai deck had been made into real cards, and their effects were similar to the original. But all the monster types and type-related effects had been changed from yokai to zombie. I set a card face down and end my turn. The Demon King finished and looked at Kira with a smile. All right, it's your turn. Let me see your duel. Chapter 327, Yokai. My turn. Draw. Kira drew his card and smiled. Demon King's signature deck, made up of yokai from various myths and folklore. Because you can skillfully command the powers of all sorts of yokai, you're known as the Demon King. Ha 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 ha. Kid, you know your stuff. Demon King burst out laughing, then waved his hand. The past isn't worth mentioning. And honestly, the reason they call me Demon King isn't just about the cards. He paused, then looked Kira up and down with a leering gaze, licking his lips. Well, you'll understand why after you lose. Jaden, standing to the side, didn't quite get what he meant, but instinctively shivered, feeling a chill down his spine. Kira continued, a major trait of yokai is their undying nature, they can revive from the graveyard over and over. And as more yokai revive from the graveyard, it opens up all kinds of tactics. Oh, you've done your homework. Demon King grinned. Not bad, not bad. I'm starting to like you. That's right. Building up yokai in the graveyard, then unleashing a relentless assault through constant revival, that's the key to mastering yokai. Naturally. Facing a famous duelist like you, how could I not prepare in advance? Kira smiled, slowly drawing a card from his hand. That's why I'll use this card. Continuous spell, Dimensional Fissure. Electricity crackled through the air, bolts of lightning slicing through space like blades. A pitch-black rift tore open across the field, a scar in reality itself. While Dimensional Fissure is on the field, Kira explained, any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead, for both players. Demon King's smiling face froze for about a second. Then his grin slowly faded, and his jaw dropped open, stunned. What did you say? Not sent to the graveyard, everything is banished? It took his brain a few seconds to process what that meant, and when it hit, Demon King felt like he'd been struck by lightning. His CPU nearly crashed. Hey? First turn, and you just deleted my graveyard from existence? Isn't that basically blowing up my entire deck? Without a graveyard, how's my yokai deck supposed to function? Next, I summon DD. Survivor. Kira announced. DD. Survivor, ATK 1800. DD. Survivor, attack Gozuki. Only now did Demon King snap out of his shock, gritting his teeth. Humph, not that easy. I activate my set card. Trap card, Ghostly Reinforcements. Manga card. A yokai-only trap that never made it into real cards. Ghostly Reinforcements. By paying 1000 life points I can special summon 2 level 4 or lower yokai from my graveyard. Demon King, LP 4000 LP 3000. I'll revive the 2 yokai I discarded with Graceful Charity. He quickly pulled out the 2 cards. Rise again. Cursed Crow Tengu, and Shadow Mara Demon. Crow Tengu, ATK 1400. Onmoriki, ATK 1200. Yokai are strongest when they revive from the graveyard. Demon King declared. Crow Tengu and Onmoriki, both activate their effects. Crow Tengu, when special summoned from the graveyard, destroys one opponent's monster. He pointed at Kira's field. Destroy DD Survivor. A sinister current swept over Kira's cloaked warrior, shattering it instantly. And on Moriki's effect. Demon King continued. When special summoned from the graveyard, I draw one card. Whoa, he countered it. Jaden commented from the side. This guy's pretty tough too. Kira just smiled and drew 4 cards from his hand. Then, I set 4 cards and end my turn. With a wave, another dark dimensional hole opened on his field. The cloaked warrior that had just been destroyed reappeared on the field. Demon King was shocked. DD Survivor, why? It was just destroyed by Crow Tengu's effect. DD Survivor's effect, Kira explained. If this face-up card is banished, it returns to the field at the end of the turn. DD Survivor, ATK 1800. Demon King's eyes narrowed. He could already see the shape of Kira's setup. With Dimensional Fissure on the field, both graveyards were basically gone, all monsters sent to the graveyard were banished. His own yokai deck's graveyard was basically wiped out, and most of his monsters depended on the graveyard, so his deck was almost completely crippled. Meanwhile, under the same conditions, DD Survivor and Dimensional Fissure created an undying combo. No matter how it was destroyed, as long as Dimensional Fissure was up, it would be banished and then revive itself. It was clear now the opponent's whole deck was probably built around banishing. So on his side, his ancestral grave was dug up, while the opponent's banished cards were just more resources. What kind of anti-yokai tactic is this? Demon King's eyes turned red. Now he truly understood what Kira meant by studied your deck. It wasn't out of respect, he'd just sized up his opponent to mess with his mentality. Your turn, Demon King, Kira reminded. If you don't play, you'll run out of time. Humph, I know it's my turn. Draw. Demon King now realized this opponent was no ordinary foe. His graveyard resources were low, and the longer the duel dragged on, the fewer options he'd have, while the opponent's banished resources would only grow. He needed a plan. But when he drew, his eyes lit up. Ha 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 ha. Demon King laughed. Did you think Dimensional Fissure would keep my graveyard sealed forever? You're too naive. I activate quick play spell Mystical Space Typhoon, destroying a spell or trap on the field. He pointed at Kira's back row. Begone, Dimensional Fissure. Chapter 328, Cosmos Power. Quick play spell Mystical Space Typhoon, activate. Dimensional Fissure, begone. Demon King's eyes widened as he watched that ominous rift vanish amid the windstorm and lightning. Only then did he relax. Haha, not bad. I can tell you've studied my yokai deck. Using Dimensional Fissure to banish the graveyard does cripple most of my deck, especially if you can use cards that benefit from banishing. That would be dangerous for me. He paused, then changed his tone. But my duel is still a step ahead. I activate the spell card Nobleman of Extermination from my hand. A swordsman appeared from the card's image, eyeing Kira's 3 face-down cards. Nobleman of Extermination destroys a face-down spell or trap and banishes it. If it's a trap, all cards with the same name are banished from both decks. Demon King pointed at the center set card on Kira's field. That one. The swordsman swung his blade, but just as it was about to strike, the trajectory veered, and it hit the leftmost set card instead. What? Demon King exclaimed. Why didn't it hit the one I picked? Then he saw the card's image, a trap. Trap card, Card of Pandora, Kira smiled. When your effect targets a spell/trap in my zone, it can change the target to this card. Then I draw 2 cards. Anime card. Card of Pandora shattered, and Kira drew 2 cards. TCH, so you had protection. Demon King frowned. Then a thought struck him. Wait. Card of Pandora can substitute for any targeted spell/trap, which means when he used MST on Dimensional Fissure, Kira could have activated this but didn't. Why? Does that mean the set card was more important than Dimensional Fissure? Demon King snorted inwardly. But no matter what, as long as he got rid of Dimensional Fissure, his yokai system could work again. Whatever traps were left weren't nearly as oppressive. No matter what those cards were, he had nothing to fear now. I activate Gozuki's effect again, once per turn, send a yokai from deck to the graveyard. Regaining some confidence, Demon King searched his deck for a monster card. I send Mizuki to the graveyard. Mizuki, hey. Kira nodded. At the start of your next turn, you can banish it from the graveyard to revive a yokai. Also the manga version, not Kira's custom zombie version. Humph, you're prepared. But knowing changes nothing. Demon King grinned. Gozuki and Mizuki together can instantly summon the most powerful yokai. No one can withstand such a combo. Indeed, it's impressive. Kira nodded. That's why letting Mizuki reach the graveyard is dangerous. So I activate Continuous Trap, Macrocosmos. While Macrocosmos is on the field, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Demon King's smile froze for a second. Then, as if history was repeating, his smile vanished, his face twisting with pain and disbelief. Are you kidding me? You have that too? Macrocosmos, what the hell is that? Not that he should know after all, it was developed by Lyman, and never released to the public. As one of the most infamous banish cards in the modern meta, seeing it for the first time was a huge shock, especially for someone whose deck relied on graveyard resources. While resolving Gozuki's effect, Macrocosmos is already active. Kira smiled. So your chosen Mizuki isn't sent to the graveyard, it's banished instead. A starry background appeared, a black cosmos filled with stars. Mizuki was swept away by gravitational currents, vanishing into the void. Demon King instinctively reached out, as if to save it, but quickly realized it was hopeless. It was gone, reduced to atoms. Damn! His fists clenched. Demon King turned, voice low. Remember this, kid. When I win, you'll regret angering me like this. Kira smiled silently. Jaden watched, more and more impressed. He really thought Kira was amazing, always coming up with new ways to make his opponents so furious they started making mistakes. I tribute Crotengu and Onmoriki. Demon King shouted, raising his hand. Undying Nine-Tailed Fox, show your earth-shaking power. Revive from the grave. Nine-Tailed Fox, summon. A pillar of flame shot up, energy gathering and forming a burning figure. 9 fiery tails danced in the air, the flames coalescing into the form of the fox spirit. Nine-Tailed Fox, ATK 2200. Nine-Tailed Fox can be special summoned from the graveyard by tributing 2 yokai on the field. This effect was faithfully recreated in the real card, though modified. In the manga, it could only use yokai as tribute and revive as many times per turn as you liked. In the real card, you could tribute any monsters, and summon from hand or grave, but the effect could only be used once per turn. And when Nine-Tailed Fox is destroyed, it can special summon 2 fox tokens. Clearly, this monster's biggest feature is its undying nature. Every time it's defeated, it leaves 2 tokens, which can be tribute to revive it infinitely. But with Macrocosmos out, this main ability was stripped away. If it gets taken down once, Macrocosmos kicks it straight to another dimension banished, unable to revive at all. Now I activate equip spell Power of the Guardians on Gozuki. Demon King continued. Every time the equipped monster battles, place a spell counter on this card, and it gains 500 ATK. You can remove a spell counter to prevent the equipped monster from being destroyed by any means. He waved his hand. Battle. First, Gozuki attacks DD Survivor. Gozuki charged, Warhammer smashing down. The equip spell shone with golden light, armoring Gozuki with a transparent shield. At this moment, Gozuki's ATK increases by 500, and a spell counter can protect it from destruction. Gozuki, ATK 1700-2200. Absolute destruction immunity from Power of the Guardians, troublesome indeed. Kira waved his hand. Then I activate the Trap Karma Cut. Discard a card, then banish one face-up opponent's monster. Banish Gozuki. Chapter 329, The Monarch. Demon King, WRYYYYYY. Banish. Banish. Always banishing. Why do you have so much banish? The dimensional rift opened again, and an invisible force pulled Gozuki away. Even the power of the Guardian's shield couldn't save it, it was banished and the shield shattered. Ack. Then I'll attack with Nine-Tailed Fox attack and destroy that thing. Kira's only monster was DD Survivor. Nine-tailed fox's nine tails gathered energy, firing a fireball. This time there was nothing in the way. DD Survivor was engulfed and quickly incinerated. Kira, LP 4000 LP 3600. Nice, you actually hit my life points. Kira praised his opponent's efforts. Keep it up. Demon King. Even though his attack went through, the sense of helplessness only grew stronger. Face darkening, Demon King set a card and ended his turn, teeth gritted so hard they nearly cracked. No need to get so worked up, it's bad for your health and for dueling, Kira advised kindly. Demon King. End phase of your turn, DD Survivor returns. If this card was banished, it special summons itself at the end phase. DD Survivor, ATK 1800. And the card I discarded for Karma Cut was DD. Scout Plane. Kira said, thanks to Macrocosmos, Scout Plane is banished instead of sent to the graveyard. And its effect, when banished, it special summons itself in attack position at end phase. DD. Scout Plane, ATK 800. My turn. Draw. Kira paused. Alright, it's about time to end this. Demon King's heart skipped a beat. Kira's tone was so calm, not a victory declaration, not mockery, just a simple statement of what would happen next. Kira glanced at his hand and smiled. Haha, don't worry, you'll get your turn to shine soon. Only now did Demon King sense that Kira was holding something ominous. Something so threatening that even unplayed, it radiated dread. First, I tribute DD. Scout Plane to tribute summon. Ice Monarch, freeze everything. Mobius the Frost Monarch, summon. Snow fell and an icy domain unfolded. The towering Frost Monarch descended amid the flurry. Cold, pure power enveloped the field, freezing even the air into sparkling crystals. Mobius struck, unleashing his ice domain. The ground froze instantly, spreading an icy armor over everything. A fierce wind howled, carrying countless snowflakes and ice shards. Demon King's set card was frozen solid, then shattered like glass. Trap card, Storming Mirror Force. On an opponent's attack, all their attack position monsters return to the hand. A life-saving card, a last resort. But under Mobius's power, it was useless. When tribute summoned, Mobius can destroy up to 2 spells/traps on the field. Even Storming Mirror Force couldn't save you. Demon King gritted his teeth, looking at Mobius. But no, that wasn't the source of the ominous feeling. That dark, evil power was still lurking in Kira's hand. I activate Continuous Trap Ultimate Offering, pay 500 life points to tribute summon again, Kira said calmly. Kira, LP 3600 LP 3100. I tribute DD Survivor to tribute summon. He slowly drew a card from his hand. The instant it hit the dual disc, it was as if some dark being broke free. Darkness erupted, even dimming the stars of Macrocosmos. Black clouds obscured the skies, but not ordinary black. This was a void so deep it could swallow everything. Crimson beams pierced down like demonic tentacles. The ground trembled as if something unnameable was awakening. A massive shadow rose from the abyss, its outline forming from countless dark particles, with crimson eyes gleaming with evil temptation. The invisible pressure peaked. Demon King's eyes widened, body trembling. He knew that was it. That terrifying aura, that source of evil power. He looked at Kira in shock and fear. He began to regret not scouting out his opponent more carefully. Looking back, it made sense anyone Doma would go so far to target and even hire him for couldn't be simple. But now it was too late for regret. Chaos the Shadow Monarch's effect, when tribute summoned, banish any card on the field. Kira glanced at Chaos. Show your power. Chaos nodded, stretching out his hand. His black palm reached into the abyss. Space twisted under his dimensional power, locking onto Nine-tailed Fox. The once immortal fox was powerless before Chaos, its undying ability rendered useless, simply vanishing as space warped. When Nine-tailed Fox is destroyed, it can summon tokens, but if it's banished, that effect doesn't trigger, Kira said. The real card requires destroyed and sent to graveyard for the effect, but the original manga version triggered just by being destroyed. Even with Macrocosmos, the original could still activate. But Chaos banished it directly, so there was nothing left to worry about. And of course, if it's banished, Nine-tailed Fox can't revive. It can only revive if it's in the graveyard. Kira smiled. Well, you never had a chance to use that effect anyway. The monarchs of ice and shadow crossed their arms, standing before Demon King like two towering mountains. Demon King's expression was pure fear. You can't possibly be a student from Duel Academy. He looked with difficulty at the imposing chaos, unable to help but ask. What are you? Believe it or not, I really am just an ordinary student. See, I'm even wearing the uniform. Kira laughed, shrugging. Mobius the Frost Monarch, Chaos the Shadow Monarch direct attack. The combined might of ice and shadow struck, a double tornado tearing through to hell itself. Demon King screamed, engulfed by the storm as the duel ended. Demon King, LP 3000 LP 0. Chapter 330, Kira rewards the good and punishes the wicked. But as the Demon King fell, his heart was filled with grievance. Yes, grievance. He had dominated his whole life, had faced opponents stronger than himself, and had lost duels before. But this was the first time he'd ever felt so stifled after a fight. His yokai deck was built around graveyard operations. For example, the duo of Gozuki and Mizuki masters of graveyard milling and revival could easily pull any powerful yokai from the deck onto the field at a moment's notice. Or the endlessly revivable nine-tailed fox, and even the low-level monsters he'd just used Crow Tengu and Onmoriki all came with powerful effects when revived from the graveyard. But he never even had a chance. His opponent's Macrocosmos banished his entire graveyard, erasing it completely. The strength of his yokai never got to shine at any point. This was also the first time he truly realized that a duel could feel like being thrown in jail. You won, Kira. Though he hadn't dueled himself, Jaden still diligently jumped out, striking a victory pose to celebrate Kira's win, smiling cheerfully. That was such an interesting duel. Demon King. Interesting. Yeah, real interesting. Whatever you say, he didn't dare object anyway. As the duel ended, darkness surged all around. The pitch-black chaos seemed to be home to countless beings, all converging toward him. Demon King's heart skipped a beat. As an old hand on the streets, he knew exactly what this meant. To lose in a shadow duel could mean eternal damnation. Some unlucky ones couldn't even enter the underworld and would wander in darkness forever. Wait. What do you want to ask? I'll tell you everything. The Demon King cried out in panic. Naturally, you don't have the option not to. Kira nodded, stepping forward to look down at the kneeling Demon King. New Doma hired you to deal with me. The Demon King nodded like a pecking chicken. Then it's simple. Tell me where's their base. The Demon King hesitated. Don't want to say. Kira was puzzled. Didn't the winner of the duel get to ask whatever they wanted, and the loser had to answer? Could he actually choose to die rather than talk? Maybe my darkness isn't strong enough? Thinking this, the surrounding darkness pressed in even more, as if ready to swallow the Demon King whole. Terrified, the Demon King quickly said, "It's not that I don't want to, Yellow-Robed Lord. I really don't know. See, even though we're allies, I'm not in their inner circle. How could they possibly let an outsider know the location of their base?" Kira thought for a moment and felt this did make sense. But what's with this Yellow-Robed Lord? Has my yellow dorm uniform become my signature look? No matter. Kira instantly had a new idea. Even if you don't know the location, you must have a way to contact them, right? Kira asked. They hired you to take me out, so you must have a channel to notify them when the job's done. The Demon King nodded helplessly. That I do have. How do you contact them? There's a dedicated line, the Demon King replied. He couldn't hide anything he knew. Having lost the duel, he could feel a strange force brewing inside him, shackling his soul. Every word he uttered seemed to be watched by that power. Should he try to lie or hide anything, the shackles would tighten, as if gripping his soul in a vice. Of course, he had no intention of lying for now. Do you contact them, or do they contact you? Kira pressed. I contact them. Once the job is done, they send someone to verify and take something from you, though I don't know what it is. They just said you have something they want. The Demon King said bitterly. After they come and complete the retrieval, then I get my payment. What happens after that has nothing to do with me. I see. Kira nodded in understanding. Then it's simple. Contact them now, tell them the task is done, that I've been taken care of, and have them send someone over. Once they arrive, you're off the hook. The Demon King froze. Then quickly understood Kira's intent. You want me to betray my allies? He narrowed his eyes. Though he and New Doma were only surface-level allies, there was still that bond. In their world, loyalty meant everything. If word of this got out, how could he show his face in the underworld again? What, you have a problem with that? Kira smiled, not annoyed at all, just smiling kindly. If you don't want to, I won't force you. I'm a reasonable person. No, absolutely not. The Demon King shouted. For some reason, when this yellow-robed youth smiled and spoke in such a kind, understanding tone, it only made his hair stand on end. Especially with the sea of darkness swirling around, a truly chilling sight. In that instant, all thoughts of loyalty and brotherhood vanished. As the saying goes, better him than me. His own life was more important. He also sensed that if he tried to resist, his fate could be worse than death. Fine, fine. Kira patted his shoulder with a smile. It's rare for the great Demon King to see the light and repent. I'll be counting on you. The Demon King forced a bitter smile. See the light? Sure, maybe that's what it was. But why did it feel more like he was abandoning the light for the dark? Oh, right, one more thing. Kira's smile faded, and he suddenly became serious. Scared by the abrupt change, the Demon King held his breath and cautiously asked, "Is there something else, sir? Even if you repent, that doesn't mean your past crimes are forgiven." Kira said righteously. Duel monsters aren't tools for bullying the weak, nor are they a means to seek profit. Using them to hurt others disqualifies you from being called a duelist. The Demon King blinked in confusion. Hey? Yellow-robed lord, are you talking about yourself? Because I feel like I'm the one being bullied right now. Using cards for evil, stealing lives, can't you hear your cards crying? Kira continued his questioning. He really couldn't. The Demon King muttered silently but bowed his head and listened without daring to protest. Someone like you doesn't deserve to be called a duelist. I can't let you hurt more innocents with duel monsters. Kira reached out. Hand over your deck. Chapter 331, Abandoning the Light for Darkness. The Demon King was on the verge of tears. My yokai, my deck. He was called the Demon King precisely because of his mastery of the yokai deck. It was like his soul, his lifelong companion through countless duels. But it looked like this was the end of the road. Without his yokai, could he still be called the Demon King? He pondered. If he survived today, maybe he really would have to retire. Or maybe he should just become a monk. But before that, he took a deep breath and pulled out the communicator that New Doma's emissary had given him. Looking at the device, a twisted, sinister smile appeared on his pained face. No way I'm suffering through this alone. Since we're allies, we should share blessings and hardships. Those bastards from New Doma tricked him into fighting this demon. Fine, let them taste the terror of the yellow-robed devil themselves. Thinking this, the Demon King cackled. Don't blame me, brothers. I was forced into this. He connected the call. Demon King. A low voice answered, how did it go? Humph, what do you think? The Demon King put his legs up, regaining his former swagger. Haha, my apologies. If the Demon King takes action, of course it's a sure thing. So I can assume that kid is finished. I took care of both of them. They had some skills, and gave me a bit of trouble, but it's nothing major. The Demon King said confidently. They're at the club now. You'll find what you want there. If you want it, come verify in person. All right. Wait for us. We'll be right there. The call ended. As soon as he hung up, the Demon King returned to his servile self, bowing and grinning. They said they'll be right over. Please wait, sirs. No rush, no rush. Kira waved him off with a smile. Perhaps afraid they'd get bored waiting, the Demon King soon brought in a group of hostesses, some with slim waists and long legs, some plump and curvy, some pure and alluring, some in office attire. But Kira just waved them away. Some cars look brand new with big headlights, but you can never tell the real mileage and the cylinders might be totally worn out. Jaden was even less interested, yawning boredly at the lack of dueling. Kira had stolen the last duel so naturally that he never even got a chance to interrupt. Oh, right. Kira had no interest in the Demon King's usual entertainments, but this did remind him of something. You've been running this place for years. Surely you have more than just one main deck? I bet you've got a collection of spares, right? Demon King. Since we're waiting, why not share them with us for appraisal? Kira smiled. Great idea, the Demon King replied mournfully. After today, I really will have to become a monk. Jaden watched Kira silently. Kira is amazing, commanding such a terrifying guy so easily. No, for a moment, he felt that maybe Kira was the real scary one. It seemed new Doma was desperate for the sealing device in Kira's possession. In no time, 2 black-robed men rushed in. They burst into the room, stunned to find Kira and Jaden calmly drinking tea. They saw the Demon King, once so imposing, now serving tea and bowing obsequiously. The moment he saw them, he leaped up and pointed, "They're here. That's them. Lord, don't let them escape." He seemed even more eager to capture his allies than Kira himself. The 2 men froze for half a second before cursing the Demon King's utter lack of loyalty and tried to run. But it was too late. They turned and dashed for the door, but everything blurred and suddenly, they were back in the room. The yellow-robed youth sat smiling on the sofa, not even bothering to stop them. The Demon King grinned beside him, lecherously happy to see his former allies suffer. The eerie scene made the 2 men shudder. They tried to run again, but as soon as they stepped outside, the world spun, and they were back in the room just like the first time. No matter how slow-witted, they now understood their predicament. They couldn't escape. It was as if they were trapped in a haunted movie set, this room their eternal prison, unable to leave. They were caught in a shadow game barrier. All right, option A. Kira stood up slowly, revealing his duel disc. We duel. You can use the seal of Orichalcos if you want. But if you lose, you'll be stuck accompanying your serpent god for eternity, never able to reincarnate. Of course, I won't be able to ask you questions. But that's fine, I'll think of something else. Or option B, the loser must obey any command. My conditions are clear, I don't want your lives, just take me to your base and answer my questions. Hearing this, the Demon King realized Kira had forgotten something and quickly added, "Don't forget, sir. Their decks. You have to confiscate their decks too." "Oh, right." Kira slapped his forehead. "Thanks for the reminder. For the sake of justice and a healthy dueling environment, I can't let you use dual monsters for evil anymore. So yes, I want your decks as well." "There, that should cover everything." The new Doma duo glared at the Demon King. "Whose side are you on?" But the traitor just puffed out his chest and declared, "Lord Kira is upholding justice. Your decks are murder tools stained with blood and must be confiscated for the good of all. Can't let mine be the only one taken I mean, for justice, of course." The new Doma duo almost laughed in rage. "Did you just blurt out what you really meant?" Chapter 332, 1 by 1. Elemental Hero Stratos, Direct Attack. Wah! At Jaden's command, Stratos's blaster exploded in the face of one of the new Doma duo, who screamed and collapsed as his LP hit 0. "We won!" Jaden flashed a victory gesture. "That was such a fun duel." Ugh! Though Kira's shadow game didn't gamble with lives, it still dealt a certain amount of real damage. Getting blasted point-blank by an elemental hero was no joke. Damn! The black-robed man gritted his teeth. No wonder Yemo, their boss necromancer, and even the now Demon King all got taken down by these 2 students. They were just too strong. With Jaden's continuous hero fusions and combos, he was suppressed from start to finish, completely outclassed. Even when it looked like they'd emptied their hand in one turn, Jaden would just top deck Bub Lemon, special summon, draw 2 cards, then Pot of Greed for 2 more like alchemy, conjuring cards out of thin air, with no regard for equivalent exchange. But when he looked at his teammate, continuous trap, rivalry of warlords. "While it's on the field, we can each only control 1 monster type," Kira said with a smile. "You have 3 Ojima tokens on your field, so you can't summon any other monsters. Then I'll attack directly with Submarinoroid. After attacking directly, Submarinoroid goes into defense mode, so sorry, you can't even crash your tokens into me." Watching his teammate rage at the useless tokens while Kira calmly sipped tea, he suddenly didn't feel so bad about losing. Compared to his teammate, his own loss wasn't so bad a fun duel, at least. "All right, as promised." Kira clapped his hands and approached. "Lead the way. Where's your base?" The 2 black-robed men exchanged a look of pain. In the end, they gave in. "All right, let's go." They didn't want to betray their allies, but the rules of a shadow game were absolute. There was nothing they could do. That's just how it is. If you can't fight back, just go along. As they left the Dark Star Club, a cold glint flashed in their eyes. All their brothers would share the pain. Meanwhile, at the new Doma branch. Now that the boss is down and we have no orders from HQ, things aren't looking good, said the member codenamed Black Flame, glancing around. So, until HQ gives new orders, I'll take over as acting leader. Anyone object? Candlelight flickered strangely, shadows dancing on faces and walls. No one spoke. Good, then it's settled. Black Flame paused. The Demon King says he's taken care of Kira. That's good news. Venom Fang is already on his way and should bring the item soon. I've contacted HQ and am waiting for a reply. Getting the sealing device should earn us major credit. Before he finished, someone entered. I'm back. Oh? Venom Fang, you took a while, Black Flame said, turning. Did the Demon King try to haggle? No, things got a bit complicated, Venom Fang said awkwardly. What happened? Black Flame frowned. Don't tell me he failed the mission. Venom Fang hesitated, then nodded. Kira's still alive. Black Flame frowned. What's with the Demon King? He botched the job and lied about it. But I've led him to the designated place, Venom Fang whispered. That's fine too. Black Flame nodded, opening a map of Duel City. Tell me, where is he now? What's your plan? Actually, we might not need the map, Venom Fang said even more quietly. He's waiting outside the door. A few seconds of silence. Black Flame's face twisted in rage. You led him here. I had no choice. It's a shadow game, lose and you're at their mercy. What could I do? A black-robed man at the table slammed his fist down. Let's strangle this traitor first. Venom Fang jumped back in panic. Calm down, guys. I'm just relaying a message for the yellow-robed one. If you touch me, think twice. Black Flame was furious. You're bragging now. Amid the chaos, the door opened. Two figures in red and yellow uniforms appeared. So many duelists! Cried Jaden, excitedly fingering his duel disc. So many new decks to try. Kira smiled. No rush. We'll go one by one. Who's first? The room went silent. Black Flame gritted his teeth. Don't get cocky. Think just because you beat Necromancer that our branch is helpless. Another at the table slammed the table. That's right. Don't get cocky. Black Flame turned to him. All right. Gale, you go first. Show him our power. Gale. Before he could respond, Kira nodded. You first? Fine, let's duel. Gale glared at Black Flame. You set me up? Who cares? Let's just duel already. Jaden grabbed a random opponent. Duel. X4. The four began dueling. The room filled with light and shadow, monsters flying, screams and howls echoing endlessly. Black Flame watched Gale get tormented by Submarineroid and gulped, glad he hadn't jumped in himself. But this was an opportunity. No matter how strong Kira was, taking everyone down would take time. Now was his chance to slip away. But as soon as he stepped out, the world spun and he found himself back in the room. Just like before. Stunned, he looked over to see Kira smiling at him from the duel. Don't rush. The duels aren't over yet. Where are you going? I said, it's one by one. Everyone gets a turn, no need to run. He narrowed his eyes. Unless you all defeat me, or I fall, no one's leaving this room. Black Flame trembled all over, stumbling back and collapsing on the floor. He had never felt such despair in his life. P.S. 3 bonus chapters at 2000 PS. Chapter 333, The Academy's Kaiser, bonus. Seriously, this is supposed to be a major Doma base, and this is all they had. Kira walked out of the dimly lit base, stepping back into the sunlight as he counted the loot he'd confiscated from this raid. To be honest, he wasn't too impressed. It wasn't that there weren't any rare cards, but most of the rare cards these people had were the kind that were considered powerful and valuable among the local natives, but to him, they were pretty much useless. Take, for example, the Chainsaw Insect, a 4-star monster with an impressive 2400 attack points, but its minor drawback was that whenever it battled, the opponent drew a card. Well, at least it could fetch a good price. With this, the Doma forces stationed here in Domino City were basically wiped out. But, is this really okay? Jaden sounded a bit worried. He'd been so caught up in the duel just now that he hadn't thought much of it, but now that it was over and he recalled the intel they'd overheard, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. They just said something about headquarters having already arrived in Duel City or something, right? Jaden glanced at Kira. Sounds like some pretty tough people are coming. He was reminded of Shell, one of the new Doma 3 swordsmen. Back then, it took both of them together to defeat him. If it was someone like that, the threat level would be on a whole different scale compared to the grunts they'd just faced. Who knows, maybe. Kira shrugged. Anyway, we've done what we could for now. Whatever comes next, we'll deal with it as it comes. How's your puzzle card collection? Oh. Jaden fished out a handful of puzzle cards from his back pocket. 4 pieces, he said. Still missing 2. Ha, I've already got 5. Kira pulled out 5 pieces. This raid on New Doma not only cleared out the threat and grabbed some cards, but both of them also won quite a few puzzle cards. After all, there were only a handful of qualified duelists in such a huge base, the rest of the cannon fodder didn't even have puzzle cards. All right, time to find the last opponent, Kira waved his hand and smiled. See you at the finals, though we'd better hurry. It'd be a joke if we didn't even qualify for the playoffs in the end. The two bumped fists and then split up. So it's just the last match left. Kira wandered the streets, glancing around. Honestly, with duelists scattered throughout such a large city, it wasn't that easy to bump into one. Especially since most duelists made an effort to hide themselves. If you walked around Duel City during the tournament blatantly wearing a duel disc, it was like declaring yourself open prey. Anyone could instantly tell if you were a participant and decide whether to challenge you. But if you hid and observed from the shadows, you became the hunter. You could watch for easy prey to make your move or keep hiding if you thought you'd lose against someone. So, Kira and Jaden managing to farm 5 puzzle cards each at a duelist hotspot was already pretty fast. For others, just wandering the streets wasn't likely to net them opponents quickly. Not to mention, 90% of duelists, even if they got the chance, would have a hard time winning all their matches. The higher ranked and more famous the duelist, the more likely they were to face opponents just as strong or even stronger. Others who recognized them would avoid them entirely. So even though it seemed like he only needed one more win, finding that last opponent might not be so easy. After walking down another street without seeing any duelists, Kira realized he was getting a bit hungry after a morning's activity, so he decided to grab a bite to eat. And as luck would have it, just as he pushed open the door to a restaurant, he bumped right into someone. It was Duel Academy's Kaiser, Zane Truesdale. Both of them froze in surprise. Their eyes met. Yes, it was the right person. Half a second later, Kira smiled. What a coincidence. You here for lunch too? Yeah. Zane smiled and casually asked, how many pieces do you have? 5. Kira showed his puzzle cards. Missing just 1. What a coincidence. Zane smiled as well, pulling out his own pile. He also had 5 pieces. Kira figured it probably had something to do with his school uniform. Although Zane Truesdale Kaiser was one of the strongest characters in GX, his reputation as Kaiser was mostly within the academy. Before graduation, he wasn't famous in the outside world. Many Duel City participants probably hadn't heard of his name, and seeing his school uniform, figured he was just some student experiencing the tournament, an easy target. That's probably how he managed to win 5 matches so quickly. So, we're both at match point, Kira grinned. Yeah. Zane's eyes sparked with fighting spirit. Looks like one of us will qualify for the finals right here. Oh, right here. Well, if both our goals are to keep advancing, we'd run into each other eventually. Besides, we never had a chance to duel in the academy, but sooner or later, we had to face off, didn't we? True. Kira smiled. Yeah, since we're both here, we might as well take the chance. Zane nodded, took 2 steps back, and prepared his duel disc. But Kira raised a hand in a stop gesture. Wait. He said very seriously. I need to eat first. Zane. So, a few minutes later, Kira was sitting inside the restaurant, digging into his meal. Zane sat across from him, arms folded, patiently waiting. He's watching Mukbang XD. The food here's so-so, beef's a bit tough. Want to order something? Zane waved it off. I just ate. No worries, you can always order more. My treat, Kira offered. Really, I'm fine. Zane smiled. By the way, I'm surprised you already managed to win 5 pieces so quickly. Impressive. Haha, just lucky, Zane laughed. I just give every duel my all and fight with everything I have. Kira nodded. I understand. He knew Zane's philosophy, one of the defining traits of his early character, respecting your opponent's dueling. Zane was the classic idealistic duelist, always positive, placing great value on the honor of duelists, even more than his desire to win. The bonds with his deck, respect for his opponent and the duel itself, that was what he pursued, as shown in the anime when he reflected on himself after turning dark in the underground duels. He used to think that respecting his opponent was enough, and victory didn't matter. This conviction made him strong but also became his weakness. In the academy, he was the invincible Kaiser, not even losing to protagonist-tier duelists like Jaden. He'd never lost before, so he didn't crave victory since it was always within reach. But once he entered the professional circuit, and was utterly defeated by the genius Aster Phoenix, he felt, for the first time, a genuine desire to win. But his habitual way of thinking made him suppress that desire. He kept reminding himself to stick to his ideals and tried not to let himself want to win at any cost. This inner conflict ultimately broke his spirit as a duelist. It was a clear demonstration of a rule in anime: when a duelist loses their nerve, their cards lose their power too. Even someone as strong as Kaiser, after his defeat to Aster and subsequent collapse, kept losing in the pro circuit, never winning another match, even against lower-ranked pros. It wasn't until he fought in underground do-or-die duels that his long-suppressed desire finally exploded. He abandoned his old philosophy and began to pursue victory by any means necessary. But in Kira's view, even though he knew this opinion might seem heretical in the eyes of most duelists in this world, he preferred the path of the Hell Kaiser after he turned dark, compared to the idealistic early version. Because dueling is cruel. There can be only one winner. The respect your opponent, winning or losing doesn't matter talk never sat right with him, because in this world, victory and defeat decide everything, and the loser loses it all. Kira narrowed his eyes as he regarded Zane. Zane was among the strongest characters in GX. It was a shame that he later crashed and burned, his body ruined, becoming one of the few still competent allies during the fallen era of GX. If he could use this duel to give him a wake-up call to make him realize the harshness of the dueling world, maybe he wouldn't have to wait until the pro circuit to get crushed and traumatized, and wouldn't have to fight in the underground. Maybe their side would gain a huge power-up in the later stages. Having made up his mind, Kira wiped his mouth and stood up. Thanks for waiting. Let's do this. Chapter 334, Battle of the Academy Kings? Bonus. Duel. ×2. Kira, LP 4000. Zane, LP 4000. I'll go first. Draw. Kira declared. I set a monster in face-down defense position, then set a card face-down. Turn end. Zane, my turn. Draw. He glanced at his hand, then promptly played a card. Spell card, different dimension capsule. I choose one card from my deck, banish it face down. During my second standby phase after activation, that card is added to my hand. Cards like Gold Sarcophagus and different dimension capsule are considered obsolete due to their slow speed nowadays, but back in the early days, they were incredibly strong and restricted. Although you have to wait 2 turns, it acts as a universal search, hugely popular among players back then. Unlike modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, where duels are often decided in 1 turn, back then it was normal to have empty turns and little to no OTKs. Waiting 2 turns for a search was no problem. Zane searched his deck, selected a card, and placed it face down in the different dimension capsule. The capsule closed, glowed gold, and sank into the ground, disappearing. While Kira couldn't see what card was chosen, he could easily guess it was the spell card Power Bond. A machine-type fusion spell that doubles the attack of the fused monster. In the anime, Zane always opens with different dimension capsule and always picks Power Bond. Hey, isn't that guy over there Kaiser? Looks like it. And his opponent, wait, isn't that the guy, Fujiki Kira, the yellow big villain? A few students happened to be passing by, probably Duel Academy students visiting Duel City during their break. Running into the 2 school legends dueling in Duel City was a huge surprise. The Master of Yellow versus Academy's Kaiser. A battle for the Academy's crown? Record this. Hurry up. The students quickly crowded around with their phones. Everyone knew that no matter who won, this duel would be viral back at school, guaranteed to draw attention. Then, spell card, Pot of Greed. Zane continued. Draw 2 cards. After drawing, he paused and glanced at Kira's set card. He'd never dueled Kira before, but he'd watched plenty of his duels. He knew Kira was a master of trap setups. His back row couldn't be underestimated. Quick play spell, Mystical Space Typhoon, Zane said. Destroy 1 spell or trap card on the field. I'll destroy your set card. A black whirlwind wrapped around Kira's set card, and a bolt of lightning struck it, shattering the trap. Kira smiled faintly. The card you destroyed was the trap card dummy marker. When this card is destroyed by a card effect, I draw 1 card. If it's destroyed by your spell card, I can draw 2 cards from my deck. Zane nodded. So I walked right into your trap. Since your Mystical Space Typhoon destroyed it, I'll draw 2 cards. Kira drew 2 cards from his deck. Zane, now, I special summon Cyber Dragon. The legendary monster, the core of the Cyber deck, a mechanical dragon, appeared on his field, electricity arcing around its steel body as it protected Zane. Cyber Dragon, ATK 2100. Cyber Dragon is a level 5 monster, but if my opponent controls a monster and I don't, I can special summon it from my hand. Zane swept his hand. Cyber Dragon attacks the face-down monster. Cyber Dragon opened its mouth, unleashing a golden spiral of energy, obliterating the set monster, a tiny frog with a halo above its head. Treeborn Frog, Def 100. Treeborn Frog, a monster that can revive itself. Zane frowned and pulled a card from his hand. I set a card face down. Turn end. The nearby students, recording the duel, were already gushing, as expected of Kaiser, immediately summoning a high-level monster, clearing the back row, and solidifying his own back row too. Another nodded. That was a perfect first turn, both offense and defense. Kira. Honestly, Zane's opening was identical to his first appearance against Jaden in the anime. Even the in-show commentary said the same thing. Cyber Dragon, a high-level monster that can hit the field so easily, pretty impressive, hey. Kira smiled. Zane smiled too, glancing at Cyber Dragon. It's my friend. And as if it understood, Cyber Dragon actually lowered its head in acknowledgement. But that was nothing unusual. It was well known that Kaiser's Cyber Dragon was a spirit. I've seen your duels, your style as Kaiser. Kira smiled. You respect every possibility your opponent has, showcase the strong bonds between yourself and your monsters through dueling, and use Cyber Dragon's ultimate forms to give your opponent an honorable finish. That's your style and the source of your strength. He paused, narrowing his eyes meaningfully. Well, as long as you can keep winning like this, that's great. Zane was momentarily confused but replied. As long as I can stick to my own dueling, and walk my own path, there's nothing to regret even if I lose to a strong opponent. That's true. Kira smiled mysteriously, saying no more. My turn, draw, Kira declared. During my standby phase, Treeborn Frog's effect in the graveyard. If I have no Treeborn Frog on the field, I can special summon this card from the graveyard. So I revive Treeborn Frog. A holy light descended, and the little angelic frog with wings and a halo hopped back onto the field. Treeborn Frog, ATK 100. Now, I tribute Treeborn Frog for a tribute summon. Kira raised his hand, and a green storm whipped up, blades of wind swirling as if an army of wind was welcoming its general. Raise of the Storm Monarch summon. Raise of the Storm Monarch, ATK 2400. When Reza is tribute summoned, I can return 1 card on the field to the top of its owner's deck, Kira said. Cyber Dragon goes back to the top of your deck. A green storm engulfed Cyber Dragon, and its metallic body vanished in a flash of light, returning to the top of Zane's deck. Then Reza attacks directly. A storm of wind blades ripped through the battlefield, even the ground was torn apart by the air currents. The storm swept over Zane, making him stagger. Zane, LP 4000-1600. The crowd buzzed. Kira takes the first point. One guy sounded like he was streaming. He actually pushed back even Kaiser. But Zane wasn't discouraged. After the storm, he straightened up and smiled. No wonder the Monarchs are such a rare and powerful series. That was impressive. Spell card, Card of Heaven and Earth. Kira said. If I performed a tribute summon this turn, I draw 2 cards from my deck. But the cards I draw can't be used this turn if possible, I must set at least one manga card. Kira drew 2 cards. I set 2 cards face down. Turn end. Chapter 335, Good thing my skills are better, bonus. My turn, draw. Zane drew a card. Of course, everyone knew it was the Cyber Dragon that just got bounced to the top of his deck. While Cyber Dragon was once the strongest beater, it couldn't get past Reza. Spell card, Graceful Charity. Zane declared. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2. He quickly drew 3, then discarded 2. One of the cards I discard is the spell card, Card of Compensation. I draw 2 cards from my deck. Manga card. Glancing at his new draws, Zane quickly formulated a plan. When my opponent controls a monster and I don't, I can special summon Cyber Dragon again. Cyber Dragon, ATK 2100. Then I activate my face down continuous trap limit reverse. Special summon a monster with 1000 or less ATK from my graveyard in attack position. I'll revive the monster I just discarded. He pulled a card from his graveyard slot. Special summon the Light, Hex Sealed Fusion. The Light, Hex Sealed Fusion, ATK 1000. Now, activate Fusion Substitute Monsters effect. By tributing itself and other monsters on the field as fusion materials, I can use it as a substitute for a named material to fusion summon a light fusion monster from my extra deck. He indicated the monsters on his field. I tribute the Light, Hex Sealed Fusion and Cyber Dragon, using the substitute as the second Cyber Dragon for fusion. Appear. Cyber Twin Dragon. The fusion substitute monster released a surge of light, forming a vortex. Its body transformed into Cyber Dragon's form, and together with the other Cyber Dragon, they vanished into the light. A steel-white body, forged like armor, gleamed with a metallic sheen. Twin dragon heads, electricity crackling like silver snakes across its body. Cyber Twin Dragon, ATK 2800. The crowd was excited. There it is. Kaiser's strongest monster, just below Cyber End Dragon, Cyber Twin Dragon. Though the anime called it second only to Cyber End Dragon, in early tournaments, Twin Dragon was actually considered stronger and more frequently used. And I'm not done. Zane shouted, spell card, Monster Reborn. Special summon a monster from the graveyard. I revive the Light, Hex Sealed Fusion that was just used as fusion material. The Light, Hex Sealed Fusion, Def 1600. Then, I normal summon Proto Cyber Dragon from my hand. Proto Cyber Dragon, ATK 1100. A level 3 downsized version of Cyber Dragon, basically the prototype. For a long time, it was the only card that could substitute for Cyber Dragon, but as the Cyber Dragon archetype got more support, it eventually became obsolete. Proto Cyber Dragon effect, while this card is on the field, it is treated as Cyber Dragon. Now I activate the Light, Hex Sealed Fusion again. I tribute the substitute and Proto Cyber Dragon, as Cyber Dragon, to fusion summon another light fusion monster. The substitute morphed into Cyber Dragon's form, and 2 Cyber Dragons merged in a whirl of light. Lightning flashed, and another twin-headed metal dragon roared onto the field. Cyber Twin Dragon number 2 summon. Cyber Twin Dragon, ATK 2800. Kira mused, you even have a second one. But in the anime, Kaiser had 2 Cyber End Dragons, so having 2 Cyber Twins wasn't strange. The crowd was already fired up, and they hadn't even started the battle phase. As expected of Kaiser, he instantly summoned 2 Twin Dragons. 2 of them. The blue-uniformed student was especially excited. Cyber Twin Dragon can attack twice per turn if he's got 2. That's 4 attacks in 1 turn. Another student chimed in. 2800 ATK, 4 times what a concept. 1 turn KO, and then some. Your Monarch, and my Cyber Dragons, let's see which is truly the strongest power of Duel Academy. Zane declared. Battle. First, the first Cyber Twin Dragon attacks Reza. Both dragon mouths charged with fire and lightning, the left head unleashing a beam at Reza. Kira snapped his fingers. Activate the trap card Spiritual Wind Art Mayabi. Tribute a wind monster I control, then return one of your cards on the field to the bottom of your deck. I tribute Reza the Storm Monarch and send your Cyber Twin Dragon to the bottom of your deck. Reza spread its arms as if burning itself out, releasing a final storm. The power of wind erupted, engulfing the Twin Dragon in a green tornado until it vanished. Ugh, sent back to the deck. After going to all that trouble to summon it, having it blown away so easily made even Zane frown. But it was fine. What about the second one? Then Cyber Twin Dragon number 2 attacks directly. With Reza and Twin Dragon number 1 gone, Kira's field was empty. Twin Dragon number 2's double strike could easily secure victory. Activate the trap card Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. Kira flipped a back row card and discarded a card from his hand. I discard one card, then return a card on your field to the top of your deck. I discard a card to send your Cyber Twin Dragon number 2 to the top of your deck. The spirit of Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys appeared, spreading its wings. A fiery storm swept up and swallowed the second Twin Dragon, its metallic body vanishing in the flames. Zane. The crowd. So now both sides were left with empty fields. That was close, really close. As expected of Kaiser, Kira grinned. If I hadn't been careful, your twin dragons would have finished me off in one turn. Zane. He suddenly felt a strange sense of déjà vu. It was like playing a competitive online game, using a high difficulty, flashy hero with insane hand speed and fancy footwork. You pull off all your tricks maximum style, all skills used. And then your opponent, playing some boring stats monster, just presses one button, deals 999 damage, and you get instantly KO'd. Afterward, that guy even wipes his brow and says, "Phew, that was close. Good thing my skills are better." Chapter 336, Monarchs vs Cyber Dragons. That's Kira for you. The student streaming the duel gasped. Kaiser's 2 Cyber Twin Dragons, a fourfold attack, were actually neutralized so effortlessly. At this point, he couldn't help but feel a little gloomy. So, it's still not enough? Even someone as strong as Kaiser is struggling this much against darkness. What's left for the rest of us? Where should we go from here? Zane took a deep breath and said, "Then I activate the spell card of Burial Magic. I banish the spell cards Mystical Space Typhoon, Pot of Greed, and Graceful Charity from my graveyard to draw 2 cards. Anime card." After drawing, he helplessly waved his hand. "I set 3 cards face down. My turn ends." His offensive had been completely neutralized, and now his field was empty. His life points were only 1,600, and for the next turn, he could only rely on his back row for defense. "My turn. Draw." Kira pointed to his own field, and another beam of sacred white light descended from the sky. "My front row Storm Monarch was tribute, and my back row set cards have all been used. There are no longer any spells or traps on my field. Therefore, the effect of Treeborn Frog in my graveyard can activate again. If I have no cards in my spell/trap zone during my standby phase, Treeborn Frog special summons itself from the graveyard. Treeborn Frog, Def 100. Zane frowned. He was starting to understand Kira's Monarch deck strategy. The endlessly reviving Treeborn Frog could provide a tribute for Monarchs every turn, and the different attributes of Monarchs each had powerful field clearing effects, granting strong offense and continuous resources every turn. In fact, this was the classic top-tier build during the Monarch's heyday in the real TCG, called the Frog Monarch combo. Sure enough, with Treeborn Frog as an infinite tribute resource, the Monarchs launched another wave of assault. "Tribute Treeborn Frog," Kira declared. This time, the Rock Monarch, showing power enough to shake the land. Grand Mark the Rock Monarch, summon. A deafening roar echoed as the earth shattered. The ground seemed to tremble violently, stones flying everywhere. From the cracks emerged a massive golden figure, shining like sunlight on fragments of earth, its armor stacked like steel boulders, immeasurably heavy, its mere presence pressed down on everyone. Grand Mark the Rock Monarch, ATK 2400. When Grand Mark is successfully tribute summoned, destroy one set card on the field. Kira pointed to Kaiser's back row. "Well, I'll just choose one at random. The one in the center." Zane took a deep breath. "Then I chain that set card trap card back to the front. Revive a monster from my graveyard in defense position." A vortex opened in the graveyard, and an armored dragon, crackling with electricity, was revived. "I special summon Cyber Dragon from the graveyard. Cyber Dragon, Def 1600. A student from the yellow dorm said, "That was close. Now at least Kaiser has a defense monster and should survive this turn's assault." Then, Grand Mark the Rock Monarch attacks Cyber Dragon, Kira declared. Zane shouted, "I activate the trap card attack reflector unit." The trap card flipped, projecting an arsenal-like scene. Robotic arms and machinery surrounded Cyber Dragon, rapidly transforming it. Attack Reflector Unit, tribute a Cyber Dragon you control to special summon Cyber Barrier Dragon from your deck. Zane shouted. Tribute Cyber Dragon and evolve into a new form. Cyber Barrier Dragon, summon. A golden beam shot skyward as Cyber Dragon rapidly transformed, evolving into a new Steel Dragon. Cyber Barrier Dragon, Def 2800. 2800 defense. Shouted a Blue Dorm student. Now the Monarch can't break through. Then, the battle rewinds. Grand Mark the Rock Monarch cancels its attack. Kira revealed another card from his hand. But I activate the quick play spell Quick Summon. I can perform another normal summon of a monster from my hand. Anime card. He revealed another card from his hand. Tribute Grand Mark the Rock Monarch for another tribute summon. Zane's face changed. A second Monarch in one turn. Under the thunderous sky, the ruler of lightning descends. Zaborg the Thunder Monarch, summon. A projection of black clouds appeared in the sky, releasing surging energy like a boiling sea. Silver lightning flashed, swirling and expanding, as a towering figure descended amidst the storm. Zaborg the Thunder Monarch, ATK 2400. When Zaborg the Thunder Monarch is tribute summoned, destroy a monster on the field. Kira declared. Destroy Cyber Barrier Dragon. Zaborg raised his hand, golden light shooting skyward. The sky split open, and thunder rained down like a torrent onto Cyber Barrier Dragon. The Steel Dragon looked fragile under the thick lightning, pierced as easily as butter by a hot knife. Zane raised his arm to shield himself from the blast. Oh no, the newly summoned Cyber Barrier Dragon was instantly shattered by the Monarch's might. The streamer narrated. Now Kaiser's field is empty again. Will Zaborg's attack decide the Academy's new king? Kira waved his hand. Zaborg the Thunder Monarch, direct attack. Lightning surged between Zaborg's hands, arcing toward his opponent. I activate a set card. Zane shouted. Continuous trap Call of the Haunted. Revive a monster from my graveyard in attack position. A monster card emerged from the graveyard. I revive Cyber Barrier Dragon. Kira's first instinct was to argue that Cyber Barrier Dragon couldn't be special summoned except by Attack Reflector Unit, not even if it was properly summoned, because of its own effect. But then he remembered in the anime, during the episode where Zam faced Vampire Camula, he did use Call of the Haunted to revive Cyber Barrier Dragon to block an attack. So, clearly in the anime, there's no such summoning restriction. Once properly summoned, it can be revived. Cyber Barrier Dragon, special summon again. Cyber Barrier Dragon, ATK 800. Cyber Barrier Dragon's effect, when this card is in attack position, once per turn, it can negate an opponent's attack, Zane said. The mechanical head of Cyber Barrier Dragon activated, projecting a defensive energy barrier. The Thunder Monarch's lightning slammed into it, exploding on the shield. In fact, the battle could be rewound here, but whether Kira attacked or not didn't matter. He didn't retract his attack. Then, I set a card, Kira said. Turn end. Chapter 337, Against Flash Defense. Zane let out a long breath. No matter what, he'd barely survived this turn. Losing two Cyber Twin Dragons in a single turn was too much. The Storm Monarch's repeated hand bouncing, combined with Treeborn Frog and Monarch's relentless assault, was enough to make even him sweat. Actually, Zane had long sensed that Kira, in some ways, was a duelist who walked a path completely different from his own. Zane pursued dueling his own way, keeping his pace steady and focusing on his own process rather than just victory. All in all, he valued the journey over the result. Kira was the opposite. His dueling was a formula derived for victory. If it won, the means didn't matter. Flashy tactics or monster slugfests popular with modern duelists were irrelevant. For him, the result clearly mattered more than the process. Well, if he could have fun along the way while winning, that was even better. Zane didn't think his path was superior, nor did he plan to change. For him, his conviction was his strength, and regardless of his opponent's tactics, he would always be himself. As long as he stayed true to his path, his deck would answer him. Whether he won or lost was secondary. My turn. Draw. Zane declared. And during this turn's standby phase, it's my second standby phase after Different Dimension Capsule was activated. According to its effect, Different Dimension Capsule is destroyed, and I add the card I banished with it to my hand. A vortex appeared on the ground, and the Different Dimension Capsule, like a coffin from another dimension, emerged and slowly opened. The card within returned to Zane's hand. Of course, everyone knew what Kaiser's different dimension capsule contained, just like everyone always knew Seto Kaiba's set card was polymerization. Then I activate the spell cards spell books from the pot. Both players draw 3 cards from their decks. Manga card. After drawing, he quickly made a decision and revealed 3 cards from his hand. Activate the spell card Monster Reborn. Zane played his signature card. Revive any monster from my graveyard. I choose this card. Proto-Cyber Dragon, Summon. Proto-Cyber Dragon, ATK 1100. And at this moment, activate Quick Play spell Inferno Reckless Summon. Zane declared. When your opponent controls a monster and you special summon a monster with 1500 or less ATK, you can special summon as many copies of that monster as possible from your hand, deck, or graveyard. But as a cost, your opponent can also special summon as many copies of one of their face-up monsters as possible. My field has Zaborg the Thunder Monarch, Kira said. But I don't have any more copies in my deck. Monarchs were already super rare in this world, and nobody ran 2 or 3 copies of Zaborg anyway, so he only had 1. A yellow dorm student in the crowd said, Kaiser just special summoned Proto-Cyber Dragon, so with Inferno Reckless Summon, he'll get 2 more from his deck. You idiot, did you forget Proto-Cyber Dragon's effect? A blue dorm student reminded him. The yellow dorm student froze. When Proto-Cyber Dragon is on the field, its name becomes Cyber Dragon. Masaka, could it be? Sure enough, next moment, Zane revealed 3 more cards in quick succession. I special summon these 3 cards from my graveyard and deck. Appear, 3 Cyber Dragons, special summon together. Cyber Dragon, ATK 2100x3. Then, activate the spell card Power Bond. Using fusion materials from my hand or field, I fusion summon a machine monster. Zane declared. I fuse Proto-Cyber Dragon, treated as Cyber Dragon, with 2 more Cyber Dragons. Transform into the ultimate evolution of Cyber Dragon, descend in your mightiest form. Zane raised his arm high. Fusion summon. Cyber End Dragon. As if tearing through the boundaries of space, a 3-headed steel dragon arrived with a roar of grinding machinery. Its massive body, every inch of armor sparking with electricity, the silver plates shining like a flowing galaxy. Cyber End Dragon, ATK 4000. Power Bond's effect: when a machine monster is fusion summoned with this card, its ATK is doubled. Cyber End Dragon, ATK 4000 ATK 8000. It appeared. The students on site and those watching the stream all became excited. Kaiser's signature an 8000 attack Cyber End Dragon. So powerful, it's practically a legendary monster. 8000 attack points, a barrier unattainable for most ordinary duelists. Now this 3-headed steel dragon was the embodiment of might itself. Battle. Zane declared. Cyber End Dragon, attack Zaborg the Thunder Monarch. Eternal Evolution burst. All 3 mechanical jaws of the End Dragon opened wide, like black cannon barrels charging up. The raging energy swirled inside, crashing and roaring. With 8000 attack, even a glancing blow meant instant annihilation. Power Bond and Cyber End Dragon, this is your trump card, so strong, too strong. Kira nodded in acknowledgement, giving his opponent due respect. Or at least he felt he did. Then, with a flourish, he flipped a card, and in that instant, dazzling light burst forth from the card. Such overwhelming, radiant power, everyone in the room was forced to shield their eyes, squinting to see what the card was. Zane also shielded his eyes, his face grim. That power. Could it be? Exactly. Kira, at some point, had calmly put on sunglasses to block the light, so he didn't need to shield his eyes like the others. Facing the blinding light with ease, the dazzling glow was reflected on his black lenses. He spoke calmly. Trap card, Mirror Force. When your opponent's monster declares an attack. He slowly gestured across Kaiser's field, passing over Cyber Dragon, Cyber End Dragon, and Cyber Barrier Dragon. Such a magnificent lineup. All attack position monsters your opponent controls are destroyed. Chapter 338, Give him a heavy blow, bonus. Mirror Force. Holy blue light burst forth from the trap card, forming a shield on the field. At first, the barrier was as calm as a lake, but as Cyber End Dragon's eternal evolution burst crashed into it, the light trembled, becoming hot and dazzling. The flames of light leapt in the void, as if absorbing Cyber End Dragon's unmatched power, then returned it 100-fold. The blue glow surged like a flood, shaking space itself. Cyber Dragon, Cyber End Dragon, and Cyber Barrier Dragon, all three mechanical giants, were mercilessly engulfed, their steel bodies instantly shattering, twisting in the shockwave. To use mirror force at a time like this, Zane said in a low voice. Then I activate the quick play spell Cybernetic Zone. The spell card's image unfolded in golden light, appearing on his field at the critical moment. I target a machine fusion monster I control and banish it. He pointed to his Cyber End Dragon. I banish Cyber End Dragon. A starry blue barrier enveloped the field. Cyber End Dragon was encased within, vanishing just before the holy light could destroy it. Dodged, hey. Kira nodded. But the remaining Cyber Dragon and Cyber Barrier Dragon are destroyed. Like a shooting star streaking briefly but brilliantly across the night sky, the holy radiance swept the field, leaving only emptiness, no trace even of metal fragments. What a pity! Such a lineup, gone in an instant. That was close. Whether it was the Cyber Twin Dragons earlier or the Cyber End Dragon just now, one careless hit and it would have been all over. Kira patted his chest in a show of relief. As expected of Kaiser, truly the legendary wielder of overwhelming power. Zane was silent. But unfortunately, your opponent won't always meet force with force, Kira said. Maybe to you, using your strongest monster and going all out is the highest respect for your opponent, but duelists come in all kinds. I understand. Zane closed his eyes and spoke slowly. But I've already decided, no matter what, I'll walk with my old friends to the end. That's my way, my path. No matter what tactics or methods my opponent uses, it doesn't matter. He drew another card. Activate spell card, One Day of Peace. Both players draw a card, and until the end of your opponent's next turn, neither takes battle or effect damage. He drew a card, and then seemed to consider for a moment. Activate spell card, Card of Burial Magic. Banish One Day of Peace, Different Dimension Capsule, and Inferno Reckless summon from my graveyard, and draw 2 cards. Anime card. Then he set 2 more cards. I set 2 cards in my back row and end my turn. Zane declared. In the end phase, the monster I banished with Cybernetic Zone Cyber End Dragon returns to the field. And when it returns, its ATK is doubled. A star blue beam descended again, Cyber End Dragon's image roaring as it reappeared. Cyber End Dragon, ATK 8000, ATK 16,000. The students watching instinctively held their breath, not daring to make a sound. Cyber End Dragon with 16,000 attack. That's terrifying. At that power, even 5-headed dragon would be just a wall, or even less. The streamer continued his commentary. What a duel! Kaiser has continuously set up OTK fields, only for Kira to neutralize them with ease, yet Kaiser's offense shows no sign of faltering, it's only getting stronger. Did you see that? 16,000 ATK Cyber End Dragon. 16,000. Zane said gravely, Power Bond's effect during the end phase, if the fusion monster summoned with it is still on the field, I take damage equal to its original ATK. Anime effect. The anime and real card effects of Power Bond differ. In the real TCG, Power Bond's damage is applied at the end of the turn regardless of whether the fusion monster is still present, and the effect doesn't start a new chain. But in the anime, the effect triggers and requires the fusion monster to be present at the end of the turn. That's why, in the anime, Kaiser can use diffusion or similar effects to avoid the damage, but not in the real game. Because I activated One Day of Peace, all damage until the end of your next turn becomes 0, Zane said. So, Power Bond's damage is negated. Amazing! The spectators were once again awestruck. He even accounted for Power Bond's drawback. Kira smiled, not surprised. Power Bond was Zane's sole card, but every time he summoned Cyber End Dragon, he either won outright or had a way to dodge the self-burn. He'd never actually lost to Power Bond's own damage. Of course. If he couldn't handle the inevitable side effect of his own card, he wouldn't deserve the title of Kaiser. My turn. Draw. Kira drew. During my standby phase, since my spell/trap zone is empty, Treeborn Frog revives from my graveyard. Treeborn Frog, Def 100. Zane frowned. That frog again, the Monarch's endless ammunition. Kira could also see that, even after all these setbacks, Kaiser hadn't wavered. He still stuck to his chosen path, just as stubbornly determined to win using Cyber Dragon or its fusions. From Zane's first underground duel, it was apparent that his fusion deck always had other powerful monsters like Chimeratech over Dragon, but he used to refuse to play them. Only at a life or death moment did he finally let go of the obsession with winning with Cyber Dragon, and decided to fight to win. But now, it seemed he was still persistent, meaning he hadn't faced enough resistance or setbacks yet. But that was fine. Kira smiled slightly. Then let's give him an even greater defeat to experience. Tribute Treeborn Frog once again. Kira raised his hand. Treeborn Frog was swallowed by a dark vortex, jet black winds erupting like a hellish storm. The embodiment of destruction, breaking free from chains and awakening from endless darkness. Chaos the Shadow Monarch, Summon. Chapter 339, The Fleeting Strongest Moment, Bonus. Chaos the Shadow Monarch, ATK 2400. Zane's expression tightened, the legendary Shadow Monarch. The form of the Chaos the Shadow Monarch was shrouded in pitch-black mist, his crimson eyes appearing all the more mysterious and ethereal in the darkness. The effect of Chaos the Shadow Monarch: when its tribute summoned, you can banish any card on the field. Kira pointed again at the massive dragon dominating Zane's field. Cyber End Dragon is banished. The demon god rising from the darkness flashed with red light in its eyes as black energy began to gather in its palm. As if it contained the chaotic origin of countless negative emotions, the energy twisted the air, tearing through the field like a comet. Space itself seemed to be dragged and warped by an invisible hand, the dimension's structure collapsing, with the path of destruction stretching straight toward Cyber End Dragon. Even with an attack power of 16,000, Cyber End Dragon was powerless before the might of the Shadow Monarch. A direct hit would erase it completely. Then I'll activate a set card once again, this one. Zane flipped a spell in his back row. Quick play spell, Cybernetic Zone. Oh. Kira murmured, you actually had a second copy. Cybernetic Zone's effect: it banishes a face-up fusion monster on the field until the end of the turn, Zane explained. Cyber End Dragon, dodge the Shadow Monarch's attack. A bluish magic barrier fell once again, and Cyber End Dragon vanished in the nick of time. Chaos the Shadow Monarch's black energy sphere howled past Zane's side. That was close. Even the spectators couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat for Zane. This duel was nerve-wracking for everyone, no matter which side they supported. Zane's extreme OTK style of aggressive offense seemed, so far, to be calmly neutralized by Kira. But if even a single attack slipped through, it could mean instant defeat. Cyber End Dragon looked dazzling, but he was walking a razor's edge. The opponent avoided direct confrontation, instead bombarding him with removal and banishment effects. One careless move could end the match. You actually protected it, as expected of Kaiser, Kira said. But thanks to one day of peace, no damage can be dealt this turn. He drew 3 more cards from his hand. I set 3 cards face down in my back row and end my turn. End phase, Cybernetic Zone's effect. Cyber End Dragon returns. And its ATK doubles again. Zane called out. This is the ultimate duel. I pursue the strongest moment. Return in your invincible form, Cyber End Dragon. Cyber End Dragon, ATK 16,000, ATK 32,000. 32,000 attack power. The watching students were stunned. They gazed up at the 3-headed dragon, momentarily feeling as if Zane had fused with the metallic fortress behind him. It was as if Cyber End Dragon was his avatar, the crystallization of his duelist's soul burning at its peak, the symbol of his pursuit of the highest summit. As expected of you, Kira smiled. But don't forget, monsters powered up by Cybernetic Zone are destroyed during your next standby phase, right? Such strength was only surface level. The power brought by this card truly was a fleeting beauty that seemed to burn up the soul and life itself, with the cost being an early demise. But Zane only smiled. Thanks for the reminder, but I have my own plan. My turn, draw. Zane drew a card, then swept his hand to reveal another set card. Trap card, Solomon's Lawbook. This card lets me skip my next standby phase. Oh. Even Kira raised an eyebrow. That was creative. The audience exploded. Skip your next standby phase? That's possible? The downside of the power boost from Cybernetic Zone is that the monster self-destructs in the next standby phase, a blue dorm student explained. But if you skip that phase, a 32,000 ATK Cyber End Dragon stays on the field and doesn't self-destruct. A yellow dorm student shook his friend in excitement. Kaiser is insanely powerful. This is too much. Zane glanced at the card he drew, then at Kira's 3 set cards. After thinking for a moment, he showed his hand. Next, I play spell card, Card of Sanctity. Both players draw until they have 6 cards in hand. After replenishing his hand and checking his cards, he finally seemed to settle and swept his arm forward. Battle. Cyber End Dragon, attack Chaos the Shadow Monarch. Eternal Evolution Ray. Countless streams of electronic pulses flowed along the dragon's silver body, surging into its mouth and gathering energy like a cannon. A dazzling beam erupted, a concentrated burst of electronic energy, roaring with deafening thunder. 32,000 attack power, a touch is instant annihilation. But of course, Kira wouldn't let it pass so easily. I activate a set card, trap card, Dimensional Prison. Electricity crackled as a rift in space exploded open, a massive chasm to the abyss forming in front of Cyber End Dragon. Zane tensed. Another banishment. It was as if the traps never ended. No matter how he tried, he couldn't break through, no matter how strong his monsters were. He had poured everything into creating the ultimate Cyber End Dragon, but his opponent kept sidestepping his challenge. Even with such overwhelming attack power, it felt like punching into cotton. But he had another move. Quick play spell, Diffusion. Zane called out. Diffusing Cyber End Dragon. A golden light enveloped the 3-headed steel dragon, splitting it back into 3 cyber dragons. By diffusing Cyber End Dragon, I special summon the fusion materials from the graveyard, 2 cyber dragons and 1 proto-cyber dragon. Cyber Dragon, ATK 2100x2. Proto-cyber dragon, ATK 1100. This way, Dimensional Prison loses its target, Kira nodded. But your Cyber End Dragon is gone now. How unfortunate, a 32,000 ATK dragon, wasted. Kira feigned regret. Zane. It was true, but hearing it from the culprit was infuriating. Still, he composed himself and pressed on. You must think my cyber dragons can't defeat your emperors. But my attack isn't over yet. A glint flashed in Zane's eyes as he revealed another card. Quick play spell, Limiter Removal. PS, bonus chapter at 500 PS. Chapter 340, The Risk of Power. Limiter Removal. The machine type's ultimate OTK weapon, it can grant ordinary machine monsters the power to kill in one blow. Zane's 3 cyber dragons were instantly empowered, blue electric serpents coiling around their silver bodies, energy output skyrocketing. Cyber Dragon, ATK 2100 4200x2. Proto-Cyber Dragon, ATK 1100 2200. In an instant, over 10,000 total attack power again. A few students watching were dumbfounded. Another OTK? Kaiser is an OTK monster. To keep falling into traps and yet still muster up OTK firepower again and again. This is Kaiser's true strength. A blue dorm student murmured. The battle continues. If you can defend against even this, show me, Kira. Zane called out. Cyber Dragon triple attack. First, the first Cyber Dragon attacks Zaborg the Thunder Monarch. Evolution Ray. With doubled attack power, Cyber Dragon now outclassed even Monarch level monsters. Its electrified energy blast shot forth like a wild stallion, illuminating the field and overpowering the Thunder Monarch. The Monarch's armor shattered, the beam piercing his defenses. His hulking body was torn apart, torrents of electricity exploding from the cracks. Kira, LP 4000 LP 2200. Kira raised an arm to shield himself, smiling lightly. Impressive. Second strike. Zane called again, Cyber Dragon number 2 attacks Chaos the Shadow Monarch. Another evolution ray, this time targeting the Shadow Monarch. The king in the darkness tried to resist, but his shield was also pierced instantly, his dark armor shattering under the beam. Chaos the Shadow Monarch's massive body collapsed, a torrent of dark energy surging out and opening a portal to the abyss, his body dissolving into the void. Kira, LP 2200 LP 400. Kira slid back a few steps under the impact, black smoke fading from his body, eyebrows only slightly furrowed. All Monarch, wiped out. The commentator was ecstatic. Kaiser has finally broken through Kira's defenses. Could this be the day? The moment Zane broke the darkness, it was like sunlight piercing the clouds at Duel Academy, a historic moment, worthy of campus-wide celebration. Final strike, Zane shouted. Proto-Cyber Dragon, direct attack. The doubled Proto-Cyber Dragon opened its mouth, flames and electricity surging forth to engulf Kira and his flickering LP. Boom! A massive explosion, black smoke billowing and covering half the field. Zane panted, only then realizing he was drenched in sweat, beads running down his face. Did I finally win? It should be over. But for some reason, he didn't feel victorious. Instead, he sensed that his attack had only triggered some dangerous fuse, drawing him deeper into an unfathomable darkness. The smoke cleared. Kira, LP 5400. Phew, that was close. Kira wiped imaginary sweat. You almost got me. Zane. He rubbed his eyes to make sure he wasn't seeing things. Life points, 5400? Why? At the last moment, I activated the trap Rainbow Life. Kira smiled, displaying the trap card that was now in the graveyard. Rainbow Life, discard one card to activate. All damage this turn becomes 0, and my life points return to what they were at the start of the turn 4000. And on top of that, I recover any life points lost this turn up to the point the card was activated. Anime effect. The TCG version only recovers damage taken after activation. In short, in the anime it absorbed damage before activation, in the card game, it absorbs after activation. I see, Zane nodded. So after activating Rainbow Life, your LP went back to 4000, plus the damage from the 2 Cyber Dragons 3600. Yes, so my LP rose to 7600, Kira nodded. Then I took 2200 from Proto Cyber Dragon's direct attack. Kira, LP 5400. Zane gritted his teeth. He had truly given it his all, he and his Cyber Dragons. But even such a fierce assault felt like dropping a stone in the ocean. And as much as he hated to admit it, he could feel it. This guy was still holding back. The commentator deflated. Damn, even that couldn't break through Kira's defense. No, it seemed like the more he hit, the more LP his opponent had. And limiter removal has a drawback, monsters powered by it self-destruct at end of turn. If you don't win in one shot, it's a complete reversal. Not only did Kira survive, he healed, and now Zane's field would be wiped clean by self-destruction. No more one day of peace protection. Things looked grim. He really can't. A blue dorm student murmured. In his eyes, Zane was already more than strong enough. He was on another level compared to ordinary students. But even so, he was still toyed with by Kira. The Academy's future looked darker than ever. Great power always carries a risk, Kira said. After limiter removal, your Cyber Dragons will be destroyed at the end of the turn. I know. Zane replied. Main Phase 2. I normal summon Machina Peacekeeper. Machina Peacekeeper, ATK 500. I play spell card Machine Duplication. I select a machine type with 500 or less ATK and special summon up to 2 more copies from the deck. He searched his deck. I only have 1 monster zone left, so I summon 1 more Peacekeeper. Machina Peacekeeper, ATK 500. Peacekeeper's effect, once per turn, you can equip it to a machine type monster as an equip card. I equip each Peacekeeper to a Cyber Dragon. The 2 little machines transformed, becoming armor on the Cyber Dragons. Then I set 2 cards face down and end my turn. End phase, limiter removal's drawback destroys both Cyber Dragons. But when the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, Machina Peacekeeper is destroyed instead. So both Peacekeepers are destroyed instead of the Cyber Dragons. 2 explosions, 2 fireballs, and black smoke, but the Cyber Dragons remained unharmed. Only the unequipped Proto-Cyber Dragon self-destructed. And Peacekeeper's other effect, if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, I can add a Union monster from my deck to my hand. Zane searched his deck. I add Armored Cybern to my hand. Chapter 342, Chapter 341, The Potential of Cyber Dragon. I add Armored Cybern to my hand, Zane declared, showing the card before adding it to his hand. Then my turn ends. A beautiful use of Union monsters to avoid limiter removal's self-destruction, and you even got a search out of it, Kira praised. Impressive, really. But at the same time, I'm at my limit, Zane said, closing his eyes and shaking his head. I've done everything I possibly could, approaching perfection. But even so, you blocked it all with ease. Even though it looks like I have the advantage, that's just an illusion. Kira smiled but said nothing. Don't define yourself so quickly. If you've never tried to change, how do you know this is your limit? Zane. This time, he said nothing. Maybe he hadn't noticed, but after coming this far, a seed of doubt had sprouted in his heart. He never thought this way before, because he always won. He was Kaiser, the academy's strongest. As long as he stayed true to himself, no one could beat him. But today was different. Facing Kira, he truly felt his limit. He sensed that if he kept refusing to change, he probably couldn't win. He still told himself that as long as he stuck to his dueling style, winning wasn't everything. But no matter how he tried to convince himself, a duelist can never fully suppress the desire to win, especially against such an opponent. Against someone like Jaden, where both sides go all out with everything on the line, maybe even losing would feel worth it. But against someone like this who dodges every direct fight, using removal, banishing, and endless traps, it was hard not to feel frustrated, like having all his strength bottled up. My turn, draw, Kira said. I normal summon Card Trooper. Card Trooper's effect, once per turn, I can send up to 3 cards from the top of my deck to the graveyard. This card gains 500 ATK for each card sent until the end of the turn. Kira milled 3 cards. 3 cards sent, Card Trooper gains 1500 ATK. Card Trooper, ATK 400 ATK 1900. But it's still not as strong as my Cyber Dragons, Zane said. I know. Kira smiled, glancing at the 2 Cyber Dragons on Zane's field. I can sense it too, the bond between you and Cyber Dragon, Kira said. Zane nodded. Since before I came to Duel Academy, I've fought alongside it. No matter the deck or opponent, we've always battled together. He looked at his 2 Cyber Dragons. And we'll keep fighting together. I see. Kira nodded with respect. Then, as my highest tribute to you and your Cyber Dragon, I'll reveal my trump card. Zane stayed silent but raised his guard. Is this it? A new Monarch? Or maybe a black-luster soldier? Watch closely, Zane. This is our lab's latest achievement. No one in the world has seen it yet, Kira declared. It represents the cutting edge of dual monster research, a new power of epical significance. The string of titles only made Zane more nervous, but also curious. He knew how many achievements Kira's lab had made, not just at the academy but in the dueling world. Could they really have developed a new trump card? Interesting. Bring it on, Zane's duelist spirit burned within him. No matter the enemy, my Cyber Dragon and I will face it head on. Ha ha ha, good. Kira swept his arm. Then, I'll send the 2 Cyber Dragons on your field to the graveyard as fusion materials. Fusion summon appear now. Chimeratech Fortress Dragon. Zane. What fusion? At first, he thought he misheard. But when he looked at his field in shock, his 2 Cyber Dragons were suddenly on Kira's side, combining and transforming. A massive, heavy steel body, solid and stable, with complex mechanical parts intertwining like a writhing fortress dragon. Chimeratech Fortress Dragon summoned. Of course, it was summoned to Kira's field. Zane. Honestly, he couldn't understand what was happening. He was sure Kira hadn't played any cards, no spell, trap, or monster effects, nothing that could steal monsters. It looked like Kira just beckoned, and his 2 old friends leapt to the other side. Are you kidding me? Chimeratech Fortress Dragon's fusion materials are Cyber Dragon plus any number of machine-type monsters, Kira smiled. Its special feature is that the fusion doesn't require a fusion spell, just send monsters from the field to the graveyard. He paused to emphasize. Yes, as long as you send them from the field, it doesn't have to be my field. Zane. Wait, I have Chimeratech Fortress Dragon too, is that really its effect? Don't lie to me. In the anime, Chimeratech Fortress Dragon still needed a fusion spell. In the TCG, it looked the same but the effect was completely rewritten. When the card was first released, it caused a huge stir. Send fusion materials from the field to the graveyard to fusion summon, that's nothing special in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyone familiar with cards would immediately notice that from the field doesn't specify your field. But at the time, it was unthinkable. Many didn't believe it, thinking it was a misprint. Otherwise, stealing the opponent's monsters for free would be absurd. But later, the official ruling clarified it wasn't a misprint, that really was the effect. They even updated the text to clarify you can use monsters from either side of the field as fusion materials. So that's why I said it's the latest achievement, Kira grinned. Maybe Cyber Dragon's potential is far greater than you ever imagined. See? I didn't activate any effects or play any cards, your Cyber Dragons just became mine. Isn't that amazing? Zane. Chapter 343, Chapter 342, For the Sake of Victory, Bonus. The Chimeratech Fortress Dragon. At first glance, it didn't seem that impressive, but upon release, it unexpectedly shook the competitive environment with its impact. The main reason was, of course, the Cyber Dragon. In some sense, the birth of this card was a double-edged sword for the then undisputed powerhouse, Cyber Dragon. It was both a blessing and a curse. On the positive side, it meant Cyber Dragon became the ultimate nemesis of all machine-type monsters. No matter how powerful a machine-type monster the opponent summoned, as long as you special summoned Cyber Dragon, it could devour all machine types on the opponent's field in one gulp and transform into Chimeratech Fortress Dragon. It was as if Cyber Dragon now possessed a built-in super polymerization field clearing ability. Even if your opponent filled the field with 5 unaffected by any effect boss monsters, in the face of Cyber Dragon, they'd just become premium fodder. But from a pessimistic perspective, it also meant that Cyber Dragon itself became easy prey for the opponent. Before this card's release, it was common for a single Cyber Dragon to dominate an entire duel after being summoned. With 2100 ATK, it was an insurmountable wall for lower-level attackers, and a single Cyber Dragon's suppressive power used to be formidable. But with this card out, things changed. The opponent only needed to play any machine-type monster and could use it to devour your Cyber Dragon. Even the controller had to be careful not to carelessly summon a second machine-type monster while Cyber Dragon was on the field, or risk being taken advantage of. And you couldn't just hope your opponent didn't have Chimeratech Fortress Dragon. Unlike nowadays, the rule limiting the extra deck to a maximum of 15 cards was only introduced in 2008, during the Synchro era. The reason, supposedly, was because the official tournaments handed out card sleeves to participants, so many people would bring supersized extra decks of 99 plus cards just to get free sleeves. Konami decided this freeloading had to stop and imposed the card limit. Incidentally, in the GX era, there wasn't even a written rule that the main deck had to be under 60 cards, only that it had to be at least 40. The 60-card upper limit was also introduced with the 2008 Master Rule that brought synchro summoning. The side deck rules were also changed. Previously, the side deck had to be exactly 15 cards, not one more, not one less. After Master Rule, it became up to 15. That was probably the first major wave of players quitting Yu-Gi-Oh! Not just because of synchro summoning, but because many veteran players couldn't accept the new limits on main and extra decks. In the past, you could theoretically bring a have-it-all deck with hundreds of cards for fun, but after the new rules, that was impossible. In short, before the synchro era, there was no limit on the extra deck. So, virtually 100% of players would include Chimeratech Fortress Dragon in their extra deck. If you dared use Cyber Dragon, you had to be mentally prepared for it to be eaten. Of course, this only applied because Cyber Dragon was a top-tier, universal attacker that almost everyone used. But in the anime world, things were different. Not everyone had Cyber Dragon, so the only one really affected by the appearance of Chimeratech Fortress Dragon was one person. That is, Zane Truesdale, whose facial muscles were twitching at this moment. Chimeratech Fortress Dragon's original ATK becomes the number of fusion materials used for its summon times 1000, Kira smiled. Since I fused 2 Cyber Dragons, its ATK is now 2000. Chimeratech Fortress Dragon, ATK 0 ATK 2000. Zane. Having held fast to his beliefs up to this point, Zane finally began to seriously consider one question. When your opponent is a dog, is there really any need to show respect? This felt like the toughest duel he'd ever had, the first time his unwavering approach had ever been shaken. It seemed that in this very instant, his long-suppressed instincts and desire for victory reached their peak. He had to win. He must win. Friendship, respect for the opponent's tactics, all of it didn't matter anymore. He could lose to anyone, but not to this guy. A shadow was quietly creeping over Zane's heart. Battle! Kira declared. Chimeratech Fortress Dragon, direct attack on Zane. Chimeratech Fortress Dragon, ATK 2000. Zane, LP 1600. Zane gritted his teeth. Was it really going to end here, losing to his old friend? No, absolutely not. He refused to lose. Not today. Not now. Not in this way. Not to this opponent. Continuous trap miniaturize. Zane shouted. Select a monster with original ATK of 1000 or more on the field, it loses 1 level and its ATK drops by 1000. Kira nodded. Chimeratech Fortress Dragon's effect sets its original ATK to the number of materials times 1000. Exactly. So miniaturize applies. Zane said. Lower Chimeratech Fortress Dragon's ATK by 1000. The huge dragon visibly shrank to half its size, and even the energy blast it fired seemed weaker. Boom! Zane was blasted, staggering 2 steps and half kneeling, black smoke swirling around him. Zane, LP 1600 LP 600. Kaiser's life points are now just a candle in the wind. The commentator only now recovered from his shock at Cyber Dragon's sudden betrayal and resumed his commentary duties. Kira's tactics are just beyond shameless brilliant. He continued. Kaiser's mighty formation was once again casually broken through. Card Trooper hasn't even attacked yet. If the attack goes through, Kaiser will lose anyway. He couldn't help but sound regretful. He truly thought Zane had given his all. But there was nothing to be done in the end. Zane was just king among students. A king can't beat a demon king who doesn't play fair. Card Trooper, direct attack. Kira said. The 3 consecutive cannon shots were like a death sentence. The firelight illuminated Zane's now ashen face. The Academy King no longer had the fighting spirit he had at the start, only exhaustion remained in his eyes. He was even surprised to find, just for a moment, that he almost wanted to give up. Just let him have this one, I don't want to keep playing. But the moment he realized how absurd that was, he crushed the thought instantly. No, that was unacceptable. He was a duelist, no matter what, he had to do everything in his power to win. Only by fighting with everything, by seeking victory at any cost, could he show his opponent true respect. Even if it meant abandoning old friends. Activate set card. Zane stood up against the flames, a fierce fire rekindled in his eyes. Trap card power wall. Kira laughed with interest. Oh, you're using that move. When an opponent's monster's attack would deal me battle damage, I can activate this. Zane declared. For every 100 points of damage, I send 1 card from the top of my deck to the graveyard until the damage becomes 0. Anime effect. The printed card was later changed to every 500 damage. Zane shouted, pulling a huge stack of cards from his deck, scattering them like snowflakes. 19 cards from my deck to the graveyard. PS, bonus chapters at 1000 PS. Chapter 344, Chapter 343, I must struggle immediately. 19 cards from my deck to the graveyard. With Zane's shout, 19 cards became a shield. Card Trooper's triple attack all slammed into that barrier, unable to break through Zane's last 600 life points. He blocked it. Kira calmly drew another card from his hand. Then I set 1 card. Turn end. Zane, my turn. Draw. He swept away his earlier dejection, his fighting spirit seemed rekindled. But something was different now. If before he fought for the love of dueling, for the thrill of facing a strong opponent, now it was pure, burning desire to win this duel. On the field, there is always only one winner. There are no participation prizes. The winner is remembered, the loser is forgotten. If you play to win. I activate the spell card of reversal. Zane declared. If the opponent has special summoned monsters and I have none, I draw 2 cards. Anime card. He drew 2 cards, his eyes flaming with darkness. I activate the spell card Overload Fusion. I banish monsters from my field and graveyard as fusion materials to fusion summon a dark machine type monster. The watching students were shocked. Dark machine type? Isn't that the opposite attribute of Cyber Dragon and Cyber End Dragon? A Blue Dorm student muttered. All of Zane's Cyber Dragon, Twin Dragon, and End Dragon were light. It was well known he was a light machine user, his duels as bright and upright as his signature End Dragon. No one had ever seen him use Dark Fusion before, it almost felt at odds with his dueling style. I fuse 3 Cyber Dragons from the graveyard, 1 Proto Cyber Dragon, 1 Cyber Barrier Dragon, 2 Machina Peacekeepers, and 11 more machine-type monsters sent by Power Wall altogether. Metallic beasts emerged one after another, drawn into the swirling vortex of Dark Fusion. The audience was stunned. Fuse with 18 monsters? What could that possibly summon? 18-fold fusion arise. Chimeratech over Dragon. A cold, steel body exploded with immense energy. Countless dragon heads studded its fortress-like frame, black lightning danced along its armored surface. Kira nodded slightly. Oh, there it is. You're going all out, hey. It seemed Zane had realized the limits of clinging to Cyber End Dragon. For victory, he could even abandon an old friend. Chimeratech over Dragon's ATK is the number of fusion materials x 800, Zane declared gravely. I used 18 materials, so its ATK is. Chimeratech over Dragon, ATK? ATK 14,400. 14,400 ATK. The Blue Dorm students were shocked. So strong. And Chimeratech over Dragon can attack up to the number of fusion materials used, Zane continued. So it can attack 18 times in one turn. Anime effect. The printed card retained this effect but limited it to attacking monsters, not players. But in the anime, there was no such restriction. In a shadow game with real damage, over 10,000 points of damage, 18 times in a turn even ashes would be scattered. Not done yet. Zane declared. I summon Armored Cybern in defense position. Armored Cybern, Def 2000. Once per turn, this card can equip itself to any machine-type monster with Cyber in its name. Anime effect. The printed card was later changed to only equip to Cyber Dragon or its fusions. Equip Armored Cybern to Chimeratech over Dragon. The wing shot arcs of electricity, gliding along rails to attach to Chimeratech over Dragon. Armored Cybern's other effect, I can decrease the equipped monster's ATK by 1000 to destroy any card on the field. And this effect can be used any number of times per turn. Anime effect. Nanny. The students were floored. With 14,400 ATK, that meant up to 14 destructions? Isn't that invincible? Kira rested his chin on his hand. So that's how broken this was originally. The printed card was later changed to once per turn, and only to destroy monsters. This is my full power, my all-out pursuit of victory. Zane stepped forward. Armored Cybern, lower Chimeratech over Dragon's ATK by 1000, destroy your set card. Chimeratech over Dragon, ATK 14,400 13,400. A blast was fired, but midway the cannon turned and targeted another set card. Trap card, Card of Pandora, Kira said. When a card in my spell/trap zone is targeted by an effect, the target shifts to this card, then I draw 2 cards. Anime card. No matter, Zane said. Armored Cybern, activate again. Lower over Dragon's ATK, destroy another set card. Chimeratech over Dragon, ATK 13,400 12,400. The next card revealed was the continuous trap Spirit Barrier negates battle damage while you control a monster. Third and fourth. Zane shouted. Lower over Dragon's ATK 2 more times, destroy Chimeratech Fortress Dragon and Card Trooper. Chimeratech over Dragon, ATK 12,400 10,400. 2 more blasts, Chimeratech Fortress Dragon and Card Trooper were destroyed. When Card Trooper is destroyed, I draw 1 card. Kira drew another card. Now your field is empty. It's over. Zane roared. Chimeratech over Dragon, direct attack. Chapter 345, Chapter 344, Winning is enough. Chimeratech over Dragon, direct attack. Zane shouted, his pupils shrinking, heart racing. Armored Cybern had cleared the field, no wall monsters, no set cards. Even if Kuruba, Necrogardna or Kaiseroid came out, they could only block 1 or 2 attacks. But over Dragon could attack 18 times. There was no way to stop it. He'd won. Kira remained calm, leisurely drawing another card. Kuruba in hand. Not a chance. Zane interrupted. Chimeratech over Dragon can attack 18 times, even Kuruba can't stop it. Even if every card in Kira's hand was Kuruba, it wouldn't be enough. Kira paused, smiled, and continued. Kuruban's effect, or you might call it Sphere Kuruba, Kira smiled. When your opponent declares an attack, send this card from your hand to the graveyard to change the attacking monster to defense position. Zane. A different Kuruba? A new research breakthrough. Well, it's not mine, it's a Kaiba Corp product, Kira said. The golden, spherical Kuruba appeared, circling over Dragon. The mighty monster sputtered and powered down. Chimeratech over Dragon, ATK 10,400 Def 14,400. Zane bit his lip in frustration. In defense position, even 18 attacks would do nothing. So close, and yet. I set a card and end my turn, he declared, frustrated. Only now did he realize how truly unwilling he was, for the first time, to let victory slip from his grasp. What a pity. If I'd had regular Kuruba instead of Sphere Kuruba, I might have lost. But still, just a little short. Kira drew a card. My turn. Draw. In the standby phase, Treeborn Frog in my graveyard, if I control no spells or traps, I can special summon it. My field was wiped by your armored Cybern, so no spells or traps. Treeborn Frog revives. Treeborn Frog, Def 100. I activate Pot of Avarice, shuffle 5 monsters from my graveyard into my deck, then draw 2 cards. The 5 cards leapt out, displayed for all to see. I return Storm, Rock, Thunder, and Shadow Monarchs, plus Chimeratech Fortress Dragon, then draw 2 cards. Seeing Chimeratech Fortress Dragon among them, Zane's eyelid twitched. But he quickly suppressed the anxiety. Stay calm, nothing to fear. Chimeratech Fortress Dragon needs Cyber Dragon plus another machine to fusion summon. With only Overdragon on my field, he can't use it. He'd only seen Chimeratech Fortress Dragon once, but already felt PTSD. Draw 2 cards. Kira revealed one of them. Spell card Dark Magic Veil. Pay 1000 life points to special summon a dark spellcaster from hand or grave. Kira, LP 5400 4400. Zane was shocked. That's the legendary Duel King's ace support card Dark Magician. He looked at Kira in disbelief. His gaze seemed to ask, don't tell me you even have Dark Magician? Ha ha ha, no way I'd have a legend like that. But it doesn't have to be Dark Magician, any dark spellcaster works. Kira smiled. I special summon Witch of the Black Forest. Witch of the Black Forest, ATK 1100. Tribute Witch of the Black Forest to tribute summon. Kira waved his hand. The ruler of frozen lands descends now. Mobius the Frost Monarch. The field froze over, as if the world itself had iced up. Mobius, upon tribute summon, destroys up to 2 spell/trap cards. I target your set card and the equipped armored Cybern. Zane watched as ice spread rapidly toward his field, and said gravely. The Monarch series has strong on-summon effects that press both monsters and back row paired with Treeborn Frog's endless recursion, it's terrifying. But I know the Monarch's weakness. He flipped his set card. Counter Trap, pulling the rug. When a monster's effect activates upon summon, negate that activation and destroy the monster. Oh. Kira nodded. Indeed, a Monarch counter. A counter trap that neuters on summon effects, quite effective against Monarchs. Even Mobius, the so-called back row killer, was stymied today. The ice instantly shattered, Mobius destroyed in a burst of energy. That should do it. But Zane was still tense. Because he'd almost exhausted his resources, while Kira still seemed to have endless options. Even with Overdragon's monstrous stats, he felt little sense of safety. Kira, but the Witch of the Black Forest I just tribute triggers too. When sent to the graveyard, I can add a monster with 1500 or less def to my hand. Zane's eyelid twitched. Right, the Monarch's def is all under 1500. And those Monarchs just returned to the deck with Pot of Avarice. That means Kira can fetch any Monarch he wants. Exactly. I add Chaos the Shadow Monarch to my hand. Kira drew out the card. As he revealed it, a chilling aura seemed to swirl above Chaos's shadow looming, gazing coldly down. I play double summon, I can normal summon again this turn. Kira waved his hand. I tribute Treeborn Frog. The embodiment of destruction, breaking free from endless darkness, descends once more. Chaos the Shadow Monarch. The strongest and most sinister of the early monarchs, awakening like a demon god, descending with his supreme power. Chaos the Shadow Monarch, ATK 2400. Chaos's effect, when tribute summoned, banish any card on the field. The audience was shocked. If Overdragon is banished, Kaiser's field will be empty. Nothing could stop Kira. Not over yet. The dark fire in Zane's eyes still burned. He hadn't lost, and didn't want to. From the graveyard, I banish the trap card skill prisoner sent by Power Wall, Zane shouted. I select a card on my field, all monster effects that target it this turn are negated. I use skill prisoner to protect Overdragon, even Chaos can't. You're rattled, Zane. Kira interrupted. Zane paused. Don't be so quick to activate it. Look closely, which card is Chaos targeting? Zane. With only Chaos and Overdragon on the field, what else could he target? He then noticed the dark vortex swirling around Chaos himself. Nanny? Are you? He suddenly thought of a terrifying possibility, momentarily speechless. Chaos the Shadow Monarch, upon tribute summon, can banish any card on the field. But it also has an extra effect. Kira explained calmly. If the banished card is a dark monster, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. Kira smiled brightly amid the swirling darkness. Chaos is itself a dark monster. Zane. No, no way. The undefeated Kaiser, having come this far, finally cracked. Is this really dueling? If you actually beat me head to head, I'll admit defeat. But Kira felt this was only right. In dueling, victory means reducing your opponent's life points to 0, nothing more. Blasting down a 10,000 ATK over dragon was cool, but there was no bonus for style. Winning is enough. Chaos's effect, banish itself. Since Chaos is dark, inflict 1000 damage. Zane, LP 600. The raging darkness peaked, Chaos soaring, its body turning ethereal as it rocketed toward Zane. Chaos the Shadow Monarch kamikaze bomb. Boom. Zane, LP 600 LP 0. PS, nice duel.
Thanks for listening.